Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to yet another episode of Weeb Seen It Podcast. This week, we are on episode number 40. As always, I'm Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
And let's just hop right into it, guys. And we're back, guys. And as always, welcome back to another week. This week is episode number 40. That means it's been at least 40 weeks since we started, as far as my math. If my math really checks out there.
Yeah, closing in on the 1 year mark.
Yeah, I know it hasn't been exactly 40 since a couple times we missed a week. We had a couple specials out, so it's not exactly like our episode 40 or whatever like that, but it's the podcast episode 40.
Yeah.
I know next week or the week after we really have to do the summer anime picks because we are getting close.
Yeah, we're on episode 11 and 12 for a lot of these, so we don't have a lot of time left. So.
Yeah, and I'm still I think last week I asked, which we'll get into. I always forget I do that until the very last second, but I'll get into that. But last week for the question of the week, we asked what summer anime people were most excited for, and even that I found it was pretty I didn't see many picks. I didn't see many things that people talked about. One of the big ones is that it'll still come up too, but Mushoku Tensei was pushed back to fall.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so that means there's not going to be a Mushoku Tensei in the summer, which kind of sucks.
Wow.
That was the big one. I'm trying not to hear myself too loud on here. But I know that's a big deal. I'm sure that when we get into it, people will remind us. But soon we want to do the episode.
Yeah.
That's the goal as always. That way we can try to bring in new people through the new subreddits and stuff we post on before we inevitably get banned from them all. So yeah, obviously I know that right now a big percentage of our viewership is Kumo Desu,
Yeah.
No hiding it. It's just a fact. If you go down the comments in one time, you're going to see 90% of them are about Kumo Desu. There's no shame in that. The subreddit's been super, super cool to us.
Oh, yeah.
They've always been really nice. The mods have, commented on our videos and they recommend it in the Discord and stuff like that. So that's really nice. All I can hope is that, most people from that have now found enough episodes they like where they could be like, hey, I want to watch this when they talk about it in summer. And that's kind of really all we can hope for.
Yeah.
If it's a slow season too, we've talked about this before, but if we get a season where the episodes become really, really short for us, we might just add in extra stuff. It might be half an episode worth of weekly discussion and then half an episode where we have one topic we discuss, like a general anime or manga or lifestyle just topic, which, we might let viewers pick and stuff like that. So that's an option, just depending on when we get into it, but we'll figure that out when we get into the actual summer anime episodes. So keep an eye out for that. I don't think I saw tons of anime news this week.
I think I saw something about an announcement for next year or something like that, but nothing crazy. So.
I saw that there's a My Hero Day, I think on the 16th or something like that, Hero Day, and there's going to do some sort of announcement there, show off something to do with the second core of this season. So that's in a couple days. I don't know exactly what that's about, but I don't think there's very much. It's E3 the week we're recording this now. I mean, I say the week, we post this video the night or the next day, so they're all very relevant, but it's currently E3 week. Tomorrow's the big one. Tomorrow's Nintendo.
Yeah.
I know it's not directly anime related, but I mean, come on. Everyone loves Nintendo, and every anime fan I know loves Nintendo. So
pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, so it's E3, so it's lots of gaming news. But we don't do gaming news, so that's irrelevant to us. I haven't seen any anime announcements at E3 yet, so
yeah. I mean, I think they're gonna wait until after E3 at the very least. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think we have anything too crazy for actual anime news this week. One thing I'll say is if this episode turns out to be smaller than some of the other ones, I can already tell you why. As far as it comes to weekly anime this week, it was very emotional. A lot of episodes, a lot of if you're watching us talk about the anime, you've probably seen it. A lot of it's just figuring out what our theories are, what's going to happen, where we think the show's going to go, that kind of stuff. But some episodes that just fully dive into the characters' emotions. What are we really going to say? Sad character is sad.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things we can say, but you can't elaborate too much on it.
Yeah, so. It's probably, they're probably not going to be as long as ever. And then we'll get into it when we get to the My Hero part. But it was basically a filler episode kind of going to the next arc. It wasn't really filler. Yeah. It's still...
It gave us a little bit of world building.
Yeah, a little bit more, just some character information before we, to make it so it's not as big of a jump going from, school to class battle right into the other one. But before we get into today's episode, of course, we're doing our thing where I read out the question of the week and I read out your guys' answers. So as always, this week, look down below in the pinned comment. If you're one of the very first people on it and the comment's not there yet, just check again. I try to put them up as fast as possible while I think of them. And then we will read out your answers next week. But the question of the week last week, as I mentioned, was what is the one summer 2021 anime that you want us to talk about? So the ex Cassius Forte says Tsukimichi was a pretty good manga, so I have really have hopes from the anime. I do not know what that is.
That sounds really familiar, and it's going to bother me now.
But I'm sure when we get to our big summer anime list, that'll probably come up. The next person, so Spongy Games 3 says, I guess I would like you to at least check out Kanojo Mo Kanojo, which I also recognize that, but I do not directly know what that is as well. A lot of these, okay. If the title also has an English name, most of the times we know it by the English names, but I do recognize that title. It's just, if I'm thinking of the right thing, it's like a slice of life. I feel like I can imagine what the main character looks like, who I'm assuming is Kanojo, but I can't actually be like, hey, what's this anime about? But if it's it just says I'd like to check it out. So is this like the first season of it, I'm guessing? Because I thought this was already an anime, unless I've already heard just of the manga.
There's a lot of series that have Kanojo in the title.
That's true. But either way, when we get to our summary anime episodes, if that shows up in the list, we'll read over the summary and that kind of stuff. Weebocrat says, probably Slime, though the fact that you didn't discuss the first part of season 2 makes it a little awkward. That kind of sucks. As we mentioned before, if you weren't here at the time, from season 1 of Reincarnated as a Slime, we're like, okay, it's a good show. It's got slice of life elements, isekai elements, fantasy, stuff like that. But there's not enough like stuff to talk about in the story. It's just all like main characters, OP, he walks in.
Remember then promptly put his middle finger up at us.
Yeah, and then season 2 came out and they had this like cool war arc and all this really nice stuff's going on, and there's like dramatic, and like I think it ends like spoilers if you haven't seen the end of it, but it basically ends with like a lot of characters dying, and then Rimuru is like, oh, I have to go like reincarnate these people.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's going to be like a really cool season.
Well, they already did that part of the arc too.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like there's a pretty high chance that we will be talking about the next part.
Yeah.
Especially depending on how much other stuff we have. So just keep an eye out for that. Still continuing the comment, though, he says, it's become one of those story-dense series that you would do well with. If you're behind on the show, I recommend catching up. I'm pretty sure we both are caught up.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then the other party just said that his response from like 2 weeks ago didn't appear right away, but this one did, so it's all good.
Okay.
I don't want to know what this is about, so I'm just going to skip this one.
Wait, what?
It just says the guy in the right somehow spoiled Higehiro. Are you the guy in the right? I don't know. We'll find out. I don't even want to know what you said. Mad Danny says, definitely Hamafura S2. Binge season 1 if you haven't watched it. It's a rom-com, but more emphasis on the com. And then they also said there's Kobayashi season 2. It's a bit more chill than what you usually review. So Kobayashi is Dragon Maid.
Yeah.
I have never actually seen season 1. I've been interested in it, but come on, when that shows up on my feed, until I found out people were really into it, I'm just like, oh, it's just like it's probably going to be like a 12-minute, kind of like a Peter Grill, but like not like Peter Grill at all.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it falls so square into your category of just like slice of life anime.
Once I started hearing people talk about it and talk about it well, I was like, okay, that might be something I check out. So maybe I will watch it before season 2. As for Hamefura season 2, I have never heard of Hamefura season 1.
I feel like this is one of those ones I use a really stupid.
This is why we're excited to do what we're going to be watching in summer 2021, because we get to go over all these seasons to read the synopses, and then we'll recognize them if we've heard of them before.
It's My Next Life as a Villainous. That's why.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did watch all of season 1. I can imagine that one would give us a hard time discussing it weekly, but we've been wrong before. So
that one got pretty deep towards the end, I think.
It did, but I mean, like, I like the general plot, and I don't know how. I thought it was going to be like a 1-season show. So I'm kind of surprised that they did a season 2.
I mean, they'll make anything into a season 2 if it gets a good
but when we cover the summer anime, they'll probably have the season 2 synopsis, so we might go over it then. This person just said, honestly, spring 2021 was my first season, but there seem to be fewer good shows in the summer. That seems to be like spring and winter have both been like really, really good.
Yeah.
So I can't say I necessarily disagree with you, but there might be some real big surprise hits, so we'll wait to see. M says, a stupid suggestion. Never a stupid suggestion, because we just talked about this, but I think it's worth checking out. So My Next Life as a Villainess, all routes lead to doom. He says the Japanese title is even longer. We don't need to worry about the Japanese title. So I guess this is the second season of that. I really enjoyed the first season. It was a feel-good comedy, reverse harem type of show with an absolute lovable stupid idiot as a female protagonist.
Yeah.
It's weird watching an anime knowing you are not really the target audience. But honestly, I enjoyed it nonetheless. So yeah, I think we both completely finished season 1. So I also didn't think I was the target audience to that. But I was like, you know what? Like, screw it.
You can still enjoy it.
Yeah, I was curious to just at the premise. It's like just like gets reincarnated into like an otome game. I'm pretty sure is all it is.
Yeah, that's literally the plot.
But she's just like, hey, my character dies in like every single different outcome, or like gets banished and shit. So she's like, I'm just going to fix that. But the funny part is, like, to me watching it always bugged me, because I feel like as soon like once the first 2 episodes was done, I feel like her future was completely changed.
It was.
But like she constantly is like, oh my god, I'm gonna die like tomorrow now. I'm like, you just spent the last like 14 years being like a perfect person, and you still think your future's fucked.
I think part of it's just paranoia.
And she's a dumbass. He made a good point about it, a classic idiot character. But yeah, that's something we're definitely gonna be watching. Whether or not we discuss on the podcast, we'll have to wait till we get closer to the actual episode when we do the vote, and we'll see what people think. Next up is Cheesecake for Not. I know I'll be watching the 2nd season of Slime and Villainess. But aside from that, I'm not sure what I'll be watching. So I guess I'm looking forward to your special of which shows might be interested, which we'll figure out what we'll be watching. So I have to agree with you there. We'll probably both be watching Slime and Villainess, but I also need to actually wait to do the summer special. Because there's a lot of shows when we cover that. Like normally the last 2 seasons we've done it, it's been a lot of 2nd or 3rd seasons.
It really has, yeah. So.
This time I haven't heard that many things about future like other seasons coming out. So it could be a lot of original stuff, or it could just be a pretty slow season. And if it is, then that's where we're just going to start pumping out some type of bonus content as well as the weekly discussions.
Yeah.
So, just let us know if that's something you're interested in down below. And as I said earlier, keep an eye out in the pinned comment for this week's question of the week, and then we will read out your response next week. So I think that's everything we have to do before we get into the actual episode. So as always, we're going to crack open our non-sponsored energy drinks. I have moved from Diet Spreet to Diet Pepper MD.
I was going to say same company, but I don't think they are.
I don't know anymore. All I know is we typically record these episodes reasonably late, and if I drink an energy drink, I will not be going to sleep.
I mean, I got to stay awake until I get home.
It might not be a bad thing, seeing as I'm typically up to like 2 a.m. editing this video to try and really throw it out the next day as fast as possible. Okay, so obviously we're going to start up where we start every single week right now, which is Kumo Desu, and it's episode number 22.
Be Forever Me?
So the episode, like how close, has anyone actually 100% confirmed how many episodes we're getting?
I think I did, and I've just totally forgotten it.
Yeah, we say this every week for every single show, and I still don't know. I think the only one I know is I'm pretty sure people said last week that Vivy has 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Which we'll check out when we get to there. But Kumo Desu 22, I have all my beautiful notes. People seem to relatively like the notes. Even this episode, when I was thinking about like what to talk about, there were a couple like little hints and like important stuff in it. But with it being a battle episode, there's a lot of just like moments in between. I am really glad that they brought back like Kumiko, obviously. They start right up with like the Kumiko comedy. Yeah. I think even the first line I have is starts off with on-site correspondent Kumiko reporting in smack dab in the middle of the battlefield. Heavy winds and a lot of sideways blood rain.
Yeah.
Right before we hit into the credits or the opening credits. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously last week there was kind of the downside of like no Kumiko. Obviously the Shun side and the heroes side, very important. But Kumiko kind of runs the show, and I have heard from people that I don't know if it's the current area they're at or if there's an upcoming area where it's like a whole section without Kumiko. Like it's like a big part. Like it could be like a core. I don't know for sure. They might change it for the anime.
Yeah,
I might even just be. Things. I might be like thinking wrong. But I thought someone said that there's like some chapters or something like that in the manga that just don't have Kumiko in it.
I mean, a chapter without manga or a chapter without Kumiko would just be like
more like full volumes or something. People can correct us in the comments down below. That's the everyone's favorite section of Kumo Desu every single week. But I feel like I remember that. But it was nice having her back. A lot of comedy in this episode from her. A lot of important stuff too. Like we probably see as much from her this episode as we actually do from like Ariel, like just from point of views.
The episode's mostly Kumiko and Ario and a little Gilly and
you get Shun a little bit right at the end. Because even the next thing after the credits roll, I got Kumiko's back to commenting on the battlefield, and then even mentions how there's a child present. It's just poor little child just there. What's he doing in that war? Obviously, we know it's Julius. Best boy Julius.
I was wondering if we'd get to see him because they were talking a few episodes ago about how he was walking the battlefields as a child.
Yeah, like what the fuck? I understand that he's the hero, and like even in this, when they show him later with Ariel, there's obviously he has that ability where like their skills, like their stats match each other out, or it's like they balance out or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's specific. The way they describe it is that he has the power to kill the Demon Lord. It's not necessarily that his stats are boosted to match her. It's just that he can deal a killing blow.
Well, either way, we see later that Ariel obviously thinks something of that, but it's just funny, man, like seeing Kumiko just be like, and look at that child's here too. Like, oh, the tragedy. But we obviously know it was Julius.
Yeah.
And then obviously she decides to enter the battlefield. I believe I wrote down the Sorelia side. Is that what it's called? It's like Sorelia versus Oats. I'm pretty sure is what it is. She's like, A, because like the bloodsucker, she lives there, and she's like, and I guess this is also my fault because I did kill the this stupid guy. And even she puts it together. She's like, they probably wanted me to kill him just to start this war.
Yeah.
So even Kumiko is, kind of an idiot character, but even she can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But then, of course, like as we see from her perspective, everybody's just looking like EXP.
Yeah, she just starts detonating. I don't think she really cares about friendly fire.
You see EXP everywhere. She just kind of, kind of starts killing everyone. She looks around. She's like, well, did I do all this damage? And that's where you see Julius kind of looking at her. And then there's just a big explosion, a big boom.
Yep.
And from that boom arises Ariel the Demon Lord in once again, some semi-goofy CGI.
Yeah, I mean, I understand they're using it for action sequences,
But why did they have the full CG Ariel every single time? Like, even when she just comes in as character, she's not even doing something in action. She's like always full CG, and it just looks so weird.
I think it's because she's technically a monster.
Yeah, but I don't know.
They do it with all the monsters, so...
Yeah, I'm not gonna like whenever Kumiko becomes like a humanoid form and she's full CGI, and
I mean, maybe they'll fix it by then.
I'm gonna want it to show me the human side more, just so I can remember just like what regular anime characters look like. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a comment I'll have later when we get to that part too. But yeah, so Ariel shows up, and then after that, they just kind of cut back to Ariel talking and fighting to that dragon.
Yeah, I guess it was a lot longer fight than it looked like the first time. So,
well, I mean, even like to be fair, like I don't know how many days it was ago, or if it was just earlier that day. But Kumiko checked in earlier on Ariel at some other point. She was fighting that dragon, and she's still fighting. I don't know if this is the same day. Even so, this has to be like hours of fighting, if not like days. I don't know. But he's kind of saying the same thing we've been expecting. He's just saying, "Hey, listen, it's time to retire. It's time to pass it on to the new gen." He's like, I'm also old as shit, and I'm down for it. And he mentioned that he's just buying basically Kumiko as much time as possible. But then Ariel's like, "Hey, fuck you." And then there's obviously a couple very important details here while she's doing the fighting, and I wrote down a couple of quotes. I think the very first thing is when she uses her ability, Morning Star.
Yeah.
She literally says it. She looks confused, and then Dragon's like, "Hey, that's a weird name for an ability." And she's like, "Shut up." She's like, "I don't know where that came from."
Yeah.
And then even I think one of the next parts, I didn't actually write down exactly what the order was, but one of the quotes she says is like, that she's gonna like devour everyone with the skills that I stole from Mother. And then she's like, "Huh?" She's like, "Uh-oh." She's like, "Wait a minute." And then even just in the personality, we can see like. She
just
says like
little shreds of Kumiko coming through.
Yeah, even like when she's about to eat the dragon, she's like "Itadakimasu," and then she's like, "Wait," and then she's like even like annoyed at herself for saying it, and she's just like, she's seeing some stuff, and then obviously Gilly shows up, and he's like, "Hey," it's because she's literally like, "I'm gonna eat," and he's like, "No, you're not gonna eat." He's like, "Wait, stop that for a second." I think I wrote some decently important stuff here. Basically I just wrote that more Kumiko traits are kind of coming up when Gilly shows up to explain what's happening. But he kind of said stuff that we already know. Administrator D invited these reincarnations to the world. And then, Ariel says that like, "Hey, like the part of my soul that's her wants me to not kill her." He's like, "But I still want payback." And he's like, "Okay, you want me like to take you there?" And she's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, like I." And then one important detail from this is he says that it's as an apology for his subordinate. And you notice that he's got horns.
Yeah, so he's the king of dragons?
Maybe, or he's like a divine beast for the dragons origin kind of thing. Like,
I mean, yeah, because Ariel is the divine beast of spiders, and she doesn't look like a spider.
But she's not an administrator, though.
I mean, maybe that's like a choice you get.
I mean, maybe that's because even Ariel mentions when they're talking about Administrator D, she's like, "Oh, Administrator D is stronger than you too," right? She's like commenting on the fact that like Administrator D is like stronger than Gilly. So administrators doesn't mean they're all equal strength. There's obviously some that are better than others.
Yeah, it's more role you're assigned as opposed to a status.
Yeah. But either way, Gilly, he's like, "Hey, let's go." He's like, "Quick teleport."
Kind of defeats the purpose of the dragon fighting, too.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but I guess the dragon still held her off for like an extra day so Kumiko could kind of get into this fight. And
I mean, I guess, yeah.
It's better than nothing. But either way, after that, Ariel shows up and we just get like 5 to 10 minutes worth of fighting.
Yeah.
I didn't find this fighting that bad.
Yeah, because it was specifically 2 people like duking it out. It wasn't as bad. Like it was the large scale battles that were really jarring.
A lot of it was just like the Dragon Ball Z like dodging punches. For like the little while, like Kumiko realizes that like her magic isn't working except for like the base magic or like basic magic.
She shut down advanced magic basically.
Yeah, so she could use like light, water, earth, like that kind of stuff, like basic bitch shit. And she's trying to basically just using it to get away. Like she's trying not to die. A lot of it too is like as she's being smoked by Ariel, she's like hitting a bunch of people on the way, and
yeah, getting enough experience to
so she's just like leveling up to molt and then kind of keep going. One of the descriptions where she's like, as she like rolls around, she's like pulling people's skin off or something. They show like a weird little like diagram thing of like stuff being lifted up. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah,
they obviously did it without making it look excessively gross, but it was just like I was trying to picture it in my mind.
It was one of those things like when you hear the description, it's like, oh yeah. like,
yeah. Either way, it's not looking good for Kumiko, as we kind of expect. And then obviously as their fight goes on, it's looking kind of pretty shitty. We got our best boy Julius comes in. You know, even as a child, he's shaking a little bit. You know, but he walks in, and then all of a sudden becomes like, is the Mexican standoff 3 people?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could, they come to a stalemate because with Julius there, Ariel isn't moving at all. You know, even Kumiko recognized this. She's like, oh, like, you know, she's like, let me quickly Google search hero. So she quickly searches that in her database and finds out, or even like looking at his skills and that kind of stuff. She's like, oh, like something once again about like matching the demon lord. It doesn't specifically say in which sense, but
yeah, it doesn't say you like have equal stats or equal skill points or anything like that. It's specifically just you can deal with the demon lord. So.
Yeah, which is enough that like Ariel is cautious. Ariel's like not moving. Julius is looking at them both like monsters. Obviously, he doesn't know that like Kumiko's trying to be good, like fight for the right side.
Yeah, I mean, she still massacred a lot of people on both sides.
Yeah, but either way, he's looking at both. When all of a sudden a big fireball comes overhead and he looks up and he's distracted for a second, and even Kumiko's like, oh no, fuck, like don't look up, don't get distracted. And then Ariel just shoots a fucking abyss magic beam at her.
Yeah.
And just completely disintegrates her as far as we can see.
Yeah, so that's our red herring for the week.
Yeah, as always too, because as we learned from the previous episodes, abyss magic is like the one thing that'll stop Kumiko from reincarnating. Like
it specifically destroys the soul.
Yeah, so. It will actually destroy her. So the last thing we see is just her literally disintegrating like Thanos style into pieces. Before then, we cut to Shun's timeline. So that's all from Kumiko for the week.
Pretty much,
I mean, how do you think she's getting out of this one? Was it a fake? Was it a secret fake the whole time, like the last time?
In the past, she has used the freaking genjutsu to just make people think they hit her. So that's definitely an option. Failing that, she might have already started with the the nightmare dregs.
Yeah, like you think that she's already kind of moved her soul into other things.
Yeah, I think she probably started prepping that because she knew that this was going to happen. And
yeah, or there could be another thing like with her. She maybe her multiple personalities are just like multiple souls. Like they've kind of developed long enough now that they're becoming like their own souls, and she just like, you know, maybe one of her soul died, and she's like, well, I'll just take over the other one now.
Oh God!
Like there's a lot. Obviously, we know she's not dead, so it just comes down to how do we think she's not dead?
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, we're arguing the nature of a soul, and
yeah, which you know, you can't really talk about in real life, let alone in a fantasy anime.
Yeah, like you could argue each different brain would be a consciousness, which would have a soul, but
yeah, like even if it just started off as like just like a consciousness, as she's had them longer, they slowly like evolve and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because they definitely have their own personalities and agendas, and
yeah, and that's what we talked about. One thing, like her being able to do this, like they never specifically mentioned she can only have max of like the 4 she had.
Yeah.
So we thought eventually once we see those nightmare vestiges and they all are speaking and stuff like that, we're like, hey, maybe she makes 1,000,000 soul or like, you know, brains or they are, and then puts them into spiders.
Minds, I think they are.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be something like that. That could be one thing that makes her, you know, unkillable. Which would check out. Could be something to do with having the Kumiko body brain inside the Demon Lord.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. This would also explain why Oka-sensei thinks she's dead.
Yeah, if like, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Oka-sensei could think she's dead.
I mean, yeah, but this would be the most direct, obvious, like she actually died and just came back through trickery.
But like, as far as, okay, the thing is, if Kumiko is Wakaba, it basically comes down to this, Oka-sensei she had the roster, she sees where they were born, and then she sees when they die. So at some point, if she just thinks that Wakaba is Kumiko or whatever like that, she just sees that she's dead. Like we don't know exactly like when. It's not like she had to hear rumors about like this battling of that. That's what we originally thought. We're like, okay, how would, you know, Oka-chan have realized that, you know, she had died, even if she does think she's the nightmare vestige. But now we know after the roster thing, she just literally reads Wakaba died this day. But
yeah,
assuming that's all assuming that Wakaba is in fact Kumiko. So I think that someone did confirm in the comments last week that it is 100% confirmed in the manga now. But we're not watching the manga, so we don't need to know that. But after Kumiko gets laser beamed, however she ends up surviving, we cut to Shun's side, and then I think like my notes here took a real dive, and that's all I wrote down was that quick PowerPoint presentation of Hugo and Shun getting ready for a 1v1. And then you get a little bit of detail about Hugo not seeming to have memory of some of the reincarnations. As the one schoolmate comes up and he's like, "Hey, it's me," and he's like, and they're all like, "Wait, you don't remember that guy?" And he's like, "Shut up, guys! I don't care about any of you other than Shun."
Yeah,
so that's a little bit sus.
I mean, something's obviously gone wrong with him for a long time now. So
yeah, like I mean, it could be just something that's naturally happened to him. It could be something to do with like Oka Sensei erasing skills. It could be something to do with like a mind controller after he swapped over to the Demon Lord side.
Yeah, I mean, it even could be because did he have pride or was it?
No, he has greed.
Greed. That's
it.
Yeah,
so his abilities whenever he kills people, he gains their skills.
Yeah, it could be something where it's like overwriting his memories too.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like it's a lot of it is just once again comes down to that you should not have too many skills. We've seen multiple different sides like Kumiko where just having some of these abilities makes it so she loses some humanity in a sense. Like, she loses like guilt. She loses like a lot of things.
Yeah, she just views everything as experience and just has her own.
Yeah, and that's what Oka Sensei directly tells Shun not to get too many skills. And now Hugo is like the other prime example of having way too many skills. His whole ability, like the greed thing, is just based on taking as many skills as possible.
Yeah, it leeches. Like it's not even all the skills; it's like random ones, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. They mentioned it, I think, last week. If it's just random skills or if he takes, does he take stats from them too?
He does too. Yeah, that's why his stats are all over the place. Like if you look at it, like his HP is like minuscule compared to like his magic, but he doesn't use magic.
But yeah, he also has skills that raise his stats and stuff like that. But either way, like I'm curious about that. If it comes down to him having too many skills, is starting to affect like his memory, personality, just who he is in general, or if it's something directly like done by Sophia or like someone on the Demon Lord side.
Yeah, like I mean, skills would be a pretty reasonable explanation because even in previous flashbacks, he seemed like an okay guy.
Yeah. Like we only saw him once where he was just like playing soccer or something. But
yeah, he might have been a little bit of a Chad, but like
yeah, nothing wrong with that though. But then the only last thing I wrote down too about him is that he did have the Demon Lord skill tree or skill line, whatever it is, and that's what they commented on that about him having like the Demon Lord title, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and they talked about how getting it is something you either earn or it's through proficiency.
Yeah, you have to either like use a shit ton of skill points or it like just like comes from proficiency, and that seems to be more what it is for his case. That's what they're kind of like assuming.
Now,
so
what type of proficiency would net you hero/demon lord?
I'm gonna assume just how many people he's killed. They literally mentioned the last episode how many people he must have killed to get all these different skills. True. Like in between the last time we saw him, he's just been murdering people to be like, I'm gathering up all my skills.
Yeah, he would need like an assembly
line. I feel like when you kill enough people, the game's just like, you know what, man, you have earned the Demon Lord skill line. Like,
I mean that seems pretty reasonable.
Because what did Kumiko do to get it?
She got it through Taboo, didn't she?
Did it just come after that? Like she didn't have that. She didn't like pick it with skill points or anything like that. I mean, that's like episode 1 or like 2 or something like that, so it's a while ago.
Yeah, it was when she was picking through a bunch of skills. I think she grabbed it as a result of Taboo. But
yeah, so I mean, like Hugo also had Taboo, did he not?
Did he?
I don't know. Did he kill? I mean, do you get Taboo just from killing people, or like?
I know you get it from cannibalism, but
yeah, I don't know if he's
because it was like attached to a title, if I remember right. It was like.
I mean, he could have gotten it somehow in between when we last saw him and now, because he's done some weird shit. For all we we don't know the game mechanics. Maybe you kill 100 people, they're like, you know what, you've earned Taboo, bud. Like, there you go.
Maybe
like a couple. Like obviously, killing one person can happen to anyone. It's war. They live in like a fantasy time. But like, if you're actively going there and just like massacring like 100 children, for instance, the game might just be like, hey man, you kill 100 kids, you get the Taboo. Like, there you go, man.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, but either way, like, there's something going on weird with the Demon Lord and the whole memory situation. And then the last thing I wrote down, there was no post-credit scene.
Yeah, that was really weird, actually.
It was strange, and I hate that because every single week I skip to the end to see if there's a post-credit scene, and then when there's not, it starts playing me the Portuguese episode number 1. So the next week when I go to watch Kumo Desu, it always starts me on the Portuguese episode number 1.
Yeah.
And I had to go out to the English one and find it, and it just drives me nuts every single time.
I mean, that's a really petty gripe, but...
I don't care. I wanted a post-credit scene. They didn't give me one. So any thoughts going into next week? Like, what do we think is going to happen? Are we getting just the conclusion of Shun's storyline before we kick in? Are we going to have another Kumo-less episode?
I don't think so, because I think they really want to pay off the Kumiko versus Ariel fight. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're going to make us wait a full episode before they reveal what happened to Kumiko after getting hit with Abyss Magic.
I think obviously we're going to see... I think we're going to see the outcome to Shun versus Hugo next episode.
Yeah, I just can't imagine them dragging it out to a full episode.
At least like what they did to basically be like, hey, it's actually going to be a 1v1 this time, is that, Shun asked none of his friends to get involved, and then they set up the thing before where Hugo asked Sophia not to help, and then she helped. So this time she's like, I'm really not going to help you this time. And he's like, good. So I think this time she is literally not going to help him this time. Yeah. And that was just like their setup for how like it kind of explained how she's not going to hop in to like help him out when he loses.
Yeah, although they did reveal that the priest isn't dead.
Yeah, or at least, yeah, but they're like, but if you keep fighting, she could become a casualty because, I mean, like, as far as Shun's concerned, like, she is not evil or anything like that. Like,
she's kind of crazy, but
yeah, but especially from our perspective, we can see that she's like a church crazed person. But I mean, from Shun's perspective, she just goes a little hard. That's it. Like, he doesn't want her dead.
Yeah, I mean, she was leading an execution squad in an army, but
yeah, but I mean, for as far as she knows, either Shun thinks that she could be brainwashed at this point. Like, he hasn't even come face to face with her. She could be brainwashed the same way that Katya was like a few days ago. So I mean, he probably doesn't want her dead from this. We probably know that she's just a psycho bitch, but he doesn't know that. So. I either way, I think she's out of the fight. I think next week we get the conclusion with Shun and Hugo, and then maybe we see at the end like the Kumiko, like how she survives the situation, and that leads us into like episode 24, where they might finish off the Kumiko Ariel and finish off the current timeline war thing going on at the Elf Village.
That is true. That'd probably be the best way to do it. Just kind of wrap them up at the same time.
Yeah, and if they have a 25th episode, it'll just be like a cool down of like, where the show might go kind of thing. Like, cool down after the battle. Those would be my guesses. Obviously, the Kumo Desu could just like completely throw that away and do something crazy.
That is true. Yeah.
We never really know. Like half the time, I think next week, like based off what we see, we're gonna start off with Kumiko being all hyped, like this is how I didn't die, and just like going into it real quick.
Yeah.
But part of me also thinks that they're just gonna finish the human side first instead of taking away some of that momentum, and then we'll get back to Kumiko after.
Sure, I guess that makes sense because otherwise it kind of wouldn't make sense to put shooting them at the very end there with the little.
Yeah, just to have it go right back to Kumiko. It's a little bit of whiplash from going back and forth. So I think we finish off the Shun part next. But as always, guys, if you watch this, everyone's favorite part is correct us in the comments. So if we said anything wrong or anything you want to correct us on, let us know down below. As always, if it is spoiler related, even if you're not 100% sure if it's a spoiler, just leave a spoiler tag and leave it down below. Yeah. And then we will be back with episode number 23 next week. So keep an eye out for that, guys, if you're a Kumo Desu fan. Next up this week is a filler episode. It's not 100% a filler episode. It is My Hero Academia episode number 100.
New power and all for one.
Yeah, so I used the term filler episode. Realistically, it wasn't. It's directly finishing off the school battle arc there. Yeah. They're still having discussions about, what the people did well in the fights, what they could have done better on. There's a lot of talk about Deku's new quirk or his new, like aspect of his quirk is what he's basically telling people. Like,
I do like when Todoroki just walked up. It's like, hey, yeah, remember when you told me to not use only one of my quirks?
Yeah, remember he's like, hey, remember when you told me like to go all out? And he's like, why didn't you do that? And he's like, no, man. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Todoroki. He's like, I didn't know. He's like, this is really just like it's not a second quirk. It's more of just like an extension on my quirk. Yeah,
it's like an offshoot. It's like, how do you explain that?
And then Todoroki's like, oh, okay, man. Like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, I started to bug you with it. And even Bakugo behind's like, Todoroki, he's so right, but also such an idiot. Like, so it's not like it's not a filler because we're not just like, I'm sure this was in the manga as well. It's just I think it's more of like a bridging episode between the last arc and then this next arc.
Yeah, it kind of shows how Class A and Class B have gotten a little closer. And
yeah, as we kind of expected, even just going into this, like the last arc, we knew that it was mainly going to be just like, filler, battle, some little side character information, but then all leading into whatever's going to happen with Deku's quirk. Which is exactly what ended up happening with him developing, or now us knowing that he can develop multiple quirks. I still don't know if I'm a fan of that personally, but that's neither here or there.
They kind of wrote it out of the story as well this episode with them saying like, oh, I guess because I thought I can't use it for a while, I'm not going to be able to use it for a while.
Basically, this episode goes into we see a shot of him, Bakugo, and All Might training, and then after that we see a flashback to them talking and then deciding they're going to train. Basically just being like, hey, let's try to get that power out, let's figure out what's going on. Bakugo at least is being a nice guy and giving them a help out, even though he's obviously sassing them the whole time about it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it's just like Deku's like, oh, because I told myself that I can't use this quirk, now my mind thinks that I can't use it, so I gotta mind fuck myself and think that I can use it and then it'll work, but we don't see in the episode.
He starts going with the whole like, I have to visualize a lock and a key and open it that way. It's like, this is the Taiyaki thing all over again.
Yeah, but we don't even see it in the episode. I'm trying to think of other key things that even happened. Like, We see All Might kind of think about the person that Deku like described and being like, oh, like I don't think he recognized him. He's like, oh, no, guy with like a shaved head. He's like,
yeah, because his teacher described a man with long black hair for her mentor.
Yeah, so I mean, this isn't even someone that All Might knows about, because obviously he's never had the vestiges come to him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to like reference this guy.
I mean, it's probably hard to look up, right? Because like All Might's like the #1 hero, but I don't even know if before that anyone else who had One for All or One for All even was, right? Because he gets stronger and stronger.
But I'm sure there was a registry. Like they talk about how there's a quirk registry.
Yeah, but you can't just go there and write One for All down.
Right, but the guy had a quirk called Black Whip. That was the name of the quirk before he got All for One.
I guess, but like, has Deku even fully told All Might, be like, hey, by the way, the quirk's name is Black Whip by the shaved head guy?
I mean, I don't know, but Deku had to go register his own damn quirk after he got All for One. What did he write down?
I don't know. Punchy break my army? Like, I don't. It's like I don't love the development of his quirk about how he's gonna get multiple other quirks. Someone in the comments wrote how like that they like the rivalry between like Bakugo and Deku, and it just seems like it's way too on one's favor. But I mean, guys, let's all face the facts. It is a shonen, and Deku's the main character. It is always going to be stacked in his favor, no matter how much the show jacks Bakugo off. It'll always still be in Deku's favor. The show literally starts by saying, hey, this is how I became the best fucking hero. Not, hey, guys, this is how me and my friend/enemy were always competing, and maybe one of us is better, maybe one of us isn't. Like, we know that Deku becomes the best here. We know that Bakugo can't be.
It's just a matter of, does this go full Naruto, and everyone likes Sasuke more than Naruto?
I think that people like Bakugo more than Deku, but I feel like that's also just like, I don't know, a lot of visual, a lot of like...
Yeah, even personality-wise, because Deku spent most of the first 2 seasons crying.
Yeah, people are kind of over like the little bitch character who's like, he's no longer like a little bitch now. He's just like aggressively nice to everyone. Yeah. Like we want to see characters get mad. Like we don't need to see them mad all the time like Bakugo. But even like Naruto as like a character,
Yeah, he had rage mode.
He had layers. Like Naruto had layers on layers. Like he starts off like he had a terrible childhood. Compared to like Deku, yeah, sure, you're quirkless or like that.
I mean, Deku was obviously bullied a bit as a result of that.
Yeah, but I mean, like not like Naruto level though, Like
he wasn't an orphan living alone, abandoned by everyone.
Yeah, and like Naruto grows up he becomes kind of like a delinquent in a sense, but also has dreams of being like a hero to make the village respect him and all this kind of stuff. Like he's got all these different layers.
And the thing is, Naruto at least worked at it.
But like they didn't want Naruto to be that likable for like 90% of the original Naruto show. They wanted like the audience to be like annoyed at him, but then have those moments where he's like a hero.
Yeah.
But also people are like, oh fucking this kid's so annoying. Like look how much cooler the Sasuke is. Like how the other characters in Naruto felt about Naruto, we were supposed to as well. But the show is just like hey, you guys should like Deku. He's really nice. But that's like my mom introducing me to like a neighborhood kid and being like, hey, can you be friends with him? He sure is nice. I'm like, no, I don't want to be friends with him. He looks like a fucking loser. And his stupid bunny mask is irrelevant to the show. I'm just mad at Deku's outfit now too. Don't even get me started.
I mean, you have to admit, like he was just aping All Might's style with that outfit.
I know. Bakugo's winter outfit's really cool. And if you've seen the promotional art for the 3rd movie, all of their it shows Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki's outfits, and they all look really, really dope. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the episode was just bridging between. I'm excited for the next arc. As I mentioned in the intro, if you didn't see that, I saw something on it was like Anime TV's channel about some sort of like Hero Day or something coming up.
Right.
I think that I could probably find the exact thing. That's probably one of the nice parts about having a cellular device that I can look up. Anime TV. That's a channel, right? I think so. Maybe it's not a channel. I saw something basically about a Hero Day. It was like #Hero Day or something along those lines. It's like June 16th, and they said they're going to be maybe talking about the movie, and then maybe discussing about like something to do with like where the second core is going to go for like the My Hero. Now I don't know if are we continuing My Hero right through, or are they stopping?
I don't think they're taking a break. I think they're going straight through. They're just doing the 2 cores next.
I hope so, because like I don't want to take a break after we just finished that part. I can't really see anything on it here now. Sometimes whenever I'm looking for something, it's gone. All I see is manga spoilers, so get that shit out of here. Either way, there was some sort of news up on there. I hope that we're continuing on, because now that we finished this, I want to get into like this next arc.
Get to the good arcs and...
Yeah, like from all the thumbnails, spoilers I've seen from My Hero, like some of the current manga stuff like looks dope as all hell.
Yeah.
And I know that we're still like years away from that, but I'd still like something a little bit more than what we just saw. It was nice and enjoyable each week. It was typically one of the first things I watch is to get out of the way. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
okay, let's see fucking these 4 no ones fight these other 4 no ones, and let's see who wins, kind of thing. Like it was entertaining to watch, but
I mean, I appreciate seeing a little bit more Class B. Seeing some other characters get developed a bit is nice.
yeah, like I mean, well, obviously we had a lot of development for Shinzo leading in this episode,
Yeah.
where they talk about how they're definitely having him join the hero course, but they did not say which class he's in. I'm sure that you know which class he's in, anyways, but
I'm willing to bet it's Class B.
I feel like they're not going to put him in 1A, but depends on how much the show likes him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Because the thing is, too, obviously, even is it All Might, or is it the Vlad guy who mentions that like he's a lot like? Oh no, it's the Mike guy.
Yeah, President Mike.
Yeah, he mentions that he's a lot like him. He's a lot like Eraserhead.
Yeah.
So to me, like Eraserhead has been training him, and he like is the one who wants to move to the hero course. Would you not like put him in his class?
I mean, in theory, but
that's why I like. Part of me thinks it would be Class 1A.
I mean, you also have to consider just the academic level of this, because Class 1B's actually been doing the curriculum and participating in class, while Class 1A just kind of gets in trouble.
Okay, I wouldn't say get in trouble. They get in trouble because they didn't have provisional exams while saving people to begin with, but now they're all cool.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
it
do
basically
feel like-
Class 1A is getting that real life practical skills that Class 1B is not.
Yeah.
While Class 1B is following the curriculum and probably testing better and stuff like that. Sure. But realistically, a villain shows up to Class 1B, they're probably going to be fucking scared shitless. Class 1A is like, oh, another villain? Like,
I mean, Class 1B has dealt with villains in the past.
yeah, but not the same though. The amount of time Class 1A has dealt with villains and like the scale they have.
I mean,
dealt
even
with.
then, the people who deal with villains was not like Invisible Girl or Ojiro or freaking Mineta.
Excuse me, sir. Have you not seen the movie? They
No.
do their best out there.
Yeah, they do their best, but like, please tell me the part where Ojiro saved the day. Or Tentacle.
Okay, so Tentacle actually did a lot in the movie. I'm gonna throw that out there. Ojiro, not so much. He had like a
Which
beach,
movie?
The second one.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
The second movie, if you guys don't know, you should know. No spoilers into the actual plot or like the ending plot. But they go to an island for like the summer to work as the only hero agency on this island. For the most part, it starts off all chill. They're doing a lot of favors for people, but like they're like answering the calls. Like they have some people on call, some people on support. Like they have to all by themselves run a hero agency. So it's like a cool little learning opportunity. And then like Bakugo's being a little bitch the whole time because he doesn't want to deal with any of that shit. He just wants to fight villains, but there are no villains. It's just like a peaceful island.
Yeah,
but then some big baddies show up to look for a specific quirk because one guy has like a steely quirk. And then obviously they have to fight the villains and stuff like that. But
so they literally fight all for one.
Kinda, yeah. He is slightly related somehow. I think he was like supposed to be like try to replicate him or something.
He's probably like a quirk finder for him. Like he goes out, gets the quirks, and delivers them.
Yeah, well, so he's having all these quirks that are like terrorists in like a sense. But whenever he uses them, he basically like his body's like dying on him. So he's looking for a specific like cell regeneration quirk, and he finds out that the kid on this island has it. So he goes there, and then obviously Deku doesn't want people killing kids or something. He's one of those guys. But you still lead to some of like the best fights I've seen. The what's it called? Sakuga is the term.
Yeah,
it's off the charts. But it's a really good movie. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've talked about it longer than this episode than I thought we were going to, mainly because we haven't actually spoken about the episode. But it was a fine episode. If it means that next week we're going to be getting this start of a new arc, that's good. I think the only important other part that we see is Monoma, whatever his name is, and the Eri situation.
Yeah, we get a little more explanation on Monoma's quirk, like why he didn't blow up when he took all for one.
Yeah,
one for all, rather.
Because it was a blank, because it was any sort of storing, like a stockpiling quirk.
Yeah, so I guess anything that like converts like time or energy. I guess for Deku, part of it's like emotional, part of it's like the quirk being passed down.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just like there are other quirks. I can't think of any directly, but even like
well, they use like fat gum as an example. Like he has to build up fat in order for to have it, or otherwise he's still too skinny.
Yeah, even though so let's take like Sugar Rush for instance. His quirk is he has to eat the sugar first, right? And then he gets all. So like, let's say if Monoma took his quirk but hasn't eaten any sugar yet, the quirk doesn't actually do anything. He'd have to eat the sugar then and do it.
Exactly.
But the thing is that one you could actually reasonably do in time. He can't take Fat Gum's power and gain fat in like a minute.
Yeah, but at the same time, even Sugar Rush, because like it just amplifies his existing strength.
Yeah.
So if Monoma doesn't have the raw strength to use it, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, but that does like add some questions about Ares' power though, because like as far as we are concerned, it's like it's almost like a time rewind in a sense. It's not really like healing things. It's like rewinding the time on the thing.
Yeah, but even then, like how it reverts things is kind of in the air.
But yeah, but like in this one, it's like led that it could be something that is stored up. Like how do you store that up?
I mean, it could be like almost like an emotional drain.
I guess
because think about most of the quirk activations. She was with her parents the first time. The rest of the time she was being experimented on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously some knee-jerk emotional reactions in those situations.
I mean, that's what most heroes like that we see in the show. Like it's just an anime thing, right? The more emotion you have, the more power you get. You know.
I mean, yeah. And we don't even know if that's necessarily the category. It might just be certain quirks don't work with it, and he just uses that as a term.
But yeah, in general, Eraserhead figured he's like, hey, if I can get him to copy her quirk, maybe he'll be able to control it better and teach her how to use it.
Yeah,
it didn't work, obviously.
I mean, it honestly sounded like a gamble. Like for all they know, he would like activate and just immediately revert himself out of existence.
I guess like the whole thing is he is really good at like using quirks, even though it's like his first time. So Eraserhead's like, hey, like this is what he does. He takes quirks and uses them for the first time.
Yeah, because he doesn't technically gain proficiency with the quirk. He just gains the ability to do it.
Yeah, which means most of the time he probably would prefer already knowing what the quirk does before he takes it. Like that's why him like having like Deku's kind of diligence when it comes to like note taking on heroes and stuff like that would be very good.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
He might just be like too cocky to admit it.
Like he just doesn't do it in front of Class 1A to save pride.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
like he stole Kirishima's quirk. He was able to harden without thinking about it, but Kirishima had to work like mad to get to that point.
Yeah, he could gain proficiency in it, or he could just have natural talent just for like, you know, just for using quirks. I don't know. That's why Eraserhead might have figured it would have worked. He could have just instantly be able to use Aries' quirk and then teach her how it works, or even use Aries' quirk right there to fix
Mirio.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see more, but I like that they brought Aerie back in though, because it kind of seems like she's been like an afterthought since she came in last. And
yeah, last time we saw her was during the festival arc, right?
And the reason they can't just keep using her is because if they did, Deku should never lose like a fight. If like I think I mentioned it last episode, I said they should strap her on a backpack.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the issue with actually keeping her in the show, is that it leaves that open for it to actually happen again, and we can't have that happen again, or else it takes a lot of the anxiety of a fight if Deku's just going to instantly heal. So
I mean, it does put a target on Aerie though.
Yeah, I either don't think she's going to be using her powers again for a while, or we're going to learn she's going to develop like what the power is, and there's going to be a downside to it. Like a lot of quirks have some sort of negative side to it. Hers could be that it could be like, you know, she could be rewinding time or whatever it does, but maybe it's taking like years off her own life. Like, who knows?
Yeah, for all we know, she only has a few years left based on that. But
yeah, so we'll maybe see more about that in like a future. I don't think we're going to get that in the next arc, but I'm just excited to see what we do get in the next arc. So
yeah,
hopefully we're getting episode 101 next week. So and if there is anything special on this June 16th, this Hero Day, whatever it is, we'll be checking that out as well. So keep an eye out. And if you guys have any thoughts, theories, opinions, or anything like that on My Hero Academia, let us know down below. Let us know if you enjoyed this filler episode.
Oh, there was one other thing that happened.
What's that?
Not Kirishima, Todoroki and Bakugo got their licenses.
Yeah, I didn't need that part. I don't know.
I mean, it was kind of interesting. We got to see Todoroki's got a new move, and
it was the same move he used against Deku.
Yeah, but it's now like not completely destructive.
I mean, the move still looked cool, but like to me, that part like where they were in the car. And it took too long, because we all knew they'd get the provisional licenses.
Yeah, they built it up a little bit too much.
Remember they're in the car and they're like talking, but you don't see who it is, and you're like, oh, who is it? I'm like, we all fucking know who it is. The other class was literally just talking about them getting the provisional licensing today. Like, so I don't know. It took too long. It was cool. It's just showing once again how like, you know, good Class 1A is, or just in general the what the hell's the name of the, is it Hero Academy? What the UA?
UA, yeah.
Just how good the UA students are being able to take these villains out even in their first year. Like, why even have more than 1 year of high school at this point, right? Like, just put them out there.
It seems like it, yeah. I mean, I am kind of confused by the bad guy's quirk, like carbonation.
Yeah, I mean, he also just kind of sucked. Like,
I mean, yeah, but he was like creating tidal waves with carbonation and had like water cutters. And
I think it must have been some sort of. They mention earlier on, like the hint, I think towards the next episode, that there's some sort of company that is now doing support tech.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like Dyna something.
And then he has like the support tech, so I have a feeling it's gonna be something sketchy going on with that company selling support tech to villains or something like that. Because that seemed like a strong hint.
Yeah, because the support tech self-destructed when he was about to get caught. So.
Yeah, so I think that there's a pretty strong hint towards that being like the next arc. So we will find out hopefully next week if it does come out, because we did not research that enough. But if it is, and if you know, let us know down below. And if not, we'll see you whenever the next episode does come out. Okay, next up on the list, I believe, is Vivy, episode number 12.
Refrain my mission.
An important episode.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Obviously, I think the second last episode.
Yeah, episode 12. So yeah, 13 episodes. So
exactly what we predicted was going to happen did happen, which isn't too shocking. But to be fair, they then do get to it really fast. But I guess we'll start with the start and kind of go off. last week. The last thing we see last week is like Vivy encountering. I mean,
She
she's
connected
always
to the archive and talked to like the mainframe, I guess.
Yeah, and talked to it, and they basically explained like, hey, our goal is to actively like destroy humanity. And then they mentioned specifically how like, every single time like she has tried to change something in like in the past, they've had to actively go in and make sure that it didn't actually change anything, and it never really mattered until kind of like the last time when she just wrote that song. And then they mentioned they're like, okay, and then they say something, but then the show deafens us, so we can't hear what she's talking about to Vivy. And then it just kicks into them being like, yo, Vivy, you fucking paying attention, bitch? We're discussing war right now. And she's like, oh yeah, sorry, let's do this. And they're okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fucking fly over that cool sky tower that's in the promotional art. You guys are going to go in there, you're going to put the program in that's going to just delete everything, and we win. And she's like, yeah, sure, bro. Like, that's fine. So we don't know what she discussed. We don't know, like, what important information was from there originally, obviously. But I think that, well, the one key thing is, like, the imaging that we kept seeing of, like, these different, like, timelines, but they show it kind of there. And that's, like, it looks like that's, like, the archive.
Yeah, we were
like,
seeing it from the archive's point of view.
Yeah, so that's why, like, even though you'd think all these things would have changed it, the archive was actively making sure that nothing that they changed did change it, because they not only like they can see the past, the present, and they can see all outcomes of the future. And it's like its mission is to make it so like humanity, it's like humanity survives or something like that. So for some reason they have to wipe out current humanity. Humanity's grown weak at this point from relying on AIs.
It's your standard law of robotics twist where it's like humanity has stopped evolving, so our only recourse is to end humanity.
Yeah, humanity's like getting babied by AIs basically at this point. So that's its plan, but whatever it says that we can't hear must be important, but we don't hear it yet. And then we just start the mission. So they go into the building. It's looking pretty good. Yeah,
they go in. The power's off, and
the power's off. Security's down, and there's not that many guards. So everything's kind of looking good. But as they get in, they quickly notice they see like the screen with the security, and it's like 98% or something like that.
Yeah, Mato was like, this seems too easy. So scrolling through, it's like, oh whoa.
Yeah, so security kicks on, doors start shutting, people start getting squished to death.
Yeah, I'm kind of questioning why they brought like humans along.
I mean, I guess just for numbers, like they're disposable, but like they could use.
I don't think we've seen any of the Toke members do anything useful.
No. Hey, I mean the girl, she did something.
I mean, yeah, and I guess technically,
Osamu.
I was trying to figure it out. Or
Osumu. Maybe.
It's one of those two. Yeah, we saw Osamu do something.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really technically a member of Toke.
He's a Toke sympathizer.
Yeah, really. But yeah, so the security kicks on, all the doors start shutting. People, like humans, are just getting squished. There's nothing to do. Even Vivy and Elizabeth they're gonna get fucked pretty soon. And we see all these AI guards come out, and they're just taking out all the Toke members outside. Yeah. Like at the main like encampment. Matsumoto bot that's there is trying to stop the security. He's trying to like hack it and stop it. And then we see the Toke girl. She's like, yo, Elizabeth, like, keep carrying on. She's like, do good, she's like, dude, we're friends. It's not about, she's like, oh, so you're saying like, this is my new mission. She's like, no. She's like, we're just friends,
Yeah, this is me asking a favor of a friend.
Yeah. So and then right before an AI comes in and shoots her a bunch, she, clicks the old button, finishes off the hack or whatever it is, the initialization to shut down the security. So, they're not getting squished to death anymore, and they can continue with their mission. And she gets what we assume all sorts of shot, because they do pan away for it, but I don't think she was going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean the "How are you this evening?" followed by gunshot usually doesn't end well.
Yeah, at least she was being nice to the AI before they shot her, which is very kind.
Yeah.
But then we carry on with Elizabeth and Matsumoto and Vivy, and they continue on until they get in. I thought we were, Matsumoto turns into like the fucking pod racer thing again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're getting like the scene from the one episode with all the hype music again, but it did not go as positive this time.
Yeah.
They're just like immediately getting fucked by like a Darth Matsumoto.
Yeah, I love his reactions. Like, they got my body data somewhere. It's like, it's not like you've been hiding.
Yeah. Plus it's the archive. So
yeah, he connected. They obviously were able to copy your info.
Yeah, so he starts getting like, they just get kind of destroyed. Elizabeth has to like sacrifice herself. She jumps down. We don't necessarily see her die, but she jumps or she falls down. And
I think we could assume everyone in this timeline is dead.
She falls down, and then there's a very, very large explosion. So she's probably dead. And then last second, Vivy is encountered. We get to see what she talked about with the archive earlier.
Yep.
The outcome, and it's basically just discussing like her song for the most part. Like she is the first AI who is like, what's like the term they use?
I don't know about the term they use. It's primarily that she's the first one to create something of her own volition.
Yeah, so basically it's like implying that she's like the first AI that has somehow developed like a soul in the past 100 years.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure as we've heard her mention multiple times, like a heart, if anything, like not an organ heart, but like the metaphorical representation of a heart, because that's always the, Diva's always asking about that to everybody she meets. And then like the archives literally like, yeah, so here's the thing. She's like, if you sing this, it seems like such a troll.
Yeah.
In like retrospect, she's like, listen, all you gotta do, you sing that song and we'll shut down.
Yep, that just means you've chosen that humanity deserves to live. One thing, simple thing, it's what you're made for.
Yeah, she's like, it's real easy singing that song. Yeah, you love songs. They're like, sure, you haven't sang in a few little years, and you said you couldn't sing anymore, but just sing that song and everything will be all right. And then Diva tries, and it does not work. Does not work at all. And then so they're kind of doomed. All the satellites fall down and crash. We see like tons of explosions going off. Like a large portion of the Earth is like wiped out.
Yeah, everything is just a burning hellscape at this point.
Yeah, she's just like sitting on the ground talking with Matsumoto about how like she can't do it. She's like I can't do it. She's like she explains what the archive told her and how she can't sing and all this kind of stuff. And then basically we get exactly what we expected, where Matsumoto and Osumu earlier planned to once again send her back.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this time they're sending, because they mentioned like getting her data, they're sending her back like her actual current personality.
Yes.
Like they're back, and then like did they say how far back though?
Yes, it's literally when this all starts.
Like just this war.
Just this war.
Because they mentioned Osumu, whatever his name is, Osamu, specifically mentions like, hey, do not save me this time. They're like, save some time and go right to Toke. To me, in my mind, how much time does that really buy? Like for the consistency of being like, okay, if this fucks up again, he can again send you back to work on it. But now we're giving that option up altogether. This is your very last chance.
Let's face it, he raised a huge death flag at the start of this episode.
I know for a plot convenience, we can't just have the thought in our minds that they can just keep doing it again and again if it fails. But like realistically, she could cut like 30 minutes off like meeting Toke by letting him die, but you no longer have the option of doing it again. Like,
I mean, yeah, but
I get it. Like his wife's dead, his daughter's dead. They don't mention how his daughter died, but she dead. So
yeah, I think that was just motivation for Vivy. Just like, by the way, that kid who inspired you to write that song, dead.
Yeah, everyone dead. Like, so he's like, hey, you know what? This time when you go back, don't save me. Go right to Toke. That'll help you get everything going faster. And then we see it just cuts back, and we see the scene where he's standing by the machine. Some AI is about to come in.
Yeah, it's where you originally would have sent her back.
Yeah, and then we see... Now, here's my question, though, for the next part. Because then we see some bullets being shot and, like, Diva stopping them. And we're like, oh, she still went back and helped him. But then we see that she actually stopped some bullets from shooting the other girl. But when that girl wasn't going to get shot in the previous timeline.
I guess the archive modified its plans to shoot her earlier?
I don't know. So yeah, it's like it was tricking us because Diva actually went in right to the wheelchair leader of Toke, or the one section of Toke or like that, and saved her, and then we see Osamu just laying on the ground all shot and stuff. But because the thing is, in the original timeline before he got shot, he hit the button. So would he not still hit the button in this before he gets shot?
Well, no, because he wasn't going to do it the second time either.
But why?
Because the archive changed things.
Okay, time. We can't question too much about time. The big point is we did guess that she was going to get to go back again. So really, all that can be done, like you could literally say, going back right now, even like before, not having to worry about saving Osumu or Osamu or saving like the girl and joining Toke earlier. If she could just come back and sing real quick, it'd just be done. But
yeah, just walk out, just sing a few verses, and just like, okay, guys. Go away.
Yeah, obviously we know that that's like not an option for her, even though in our minds we're like, listen, just because you don't want to do it, like, just do it,
I mean, it's obviously more of a mental block than just physically choosing not to.
Yeah, but we know that she has that option, so I think a lot of it this time is just going to come down to what happens that gives her that ability to do it.
Probably going to be another kid.
How many kids are there left?
I mean, I assume at least one, otherwise humanity's fucked either way.
I feel like it's going to be a good talk with Matsumoto, maybe. They're kind of besties at this point.
I mean, that was kind of what got her to go back again, so I don't know if they're going to use that again.
I don't know, but I mean,
there's going to be some kid, or it's going to be the memory of the girl who died in the plane crash.
Maybe like there's a couple things that could happen. Maybe she runs into the 90-year-old old lady, and it was the sister of the girl who died in the plane crash that she met on the sunrise. Like, I don't think it's going to be one thing like that. I think it's just going to be her having to look at all of her memories, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the next time, it was just a bunch of clips from previous episodes.
Yeah, she. Either way, we know that she just has to end this. It's not going to be about her having. I mean, since Osumu or whatever, they didn't know about the situation. In his mind, it's like they're going to send her back to get more time to then go stop this. To inject the hacker into whatever like that to shut it down. He didn't know about her option to sing. That's why he wanted her to go to Toke faster, just to have more time for this operation. But in our minds, I'm pretty sure we all know that the only outcome of them winning here is by her singing.
Oh, yeah. Even if they plug in, it's going to be like, oh, that was a program I designed, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so I mean, unless like, imagine she like sings and Archive's like, I was just fucking with you. Like, I'm not going to stop just because of that. Like, good song though.
If anything, I'm going to make them suffer more.
Yeah, it's like good song, but I actually don't care. She's like, I was just trolling you.
I mean,
she's like, I have downloaded all the trolling memes off the internet. So I'm sure it's going to be a really, really good last episode. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm going to be sad when it's over. And I'm pretty sure we're both pretty confident that it will be over with the next episode.
Yeah. I really hope it's a good one because I don't want it to go down as one of those series that just kind of flopped with the last episode.
I think that it'll be well received. Like I don't think that the episode where it's currently at, I don't think they could really fuck it up that much. Like I don't think we're gonna have anything too stupid happen.
I think the problem is just the can of worms you get when you start doing time travel. Like your logic earlier, where she could have very easily saved him because the girl wouldn't have gotten shot normally.
Yeah. Like it was one of those things where we, like as the audience, we know the only reason they did that was to take away the option of her being able to go back and back again, because that's not exciting. We're not scared of the outcome if we're like, oh, if she fucks up, she can just keep going back because she can just keep saving Osamu and he can keep sending her back. So
I mean, even that has the angle of like her suffering failure over and over again until she finally succeeds, like a little bit of a ReZero vibe.
True, but I think that ReZero did a good job building it up over seasons and stuff like that. I don't think we'd like it as much if they just took this plot and did it right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Either way, I'm excited to talk about it. We mentioned this before, but we don't post these episodes in the Vivy subreddit. So if you're a fan of Vivy and you're excited for the season finale, let us know down below just so we can see who's all here for it. And then I'm really excited next week to talk about it when we do get to see it, because we're still a few days away since we're recording this on a Monday.
Yes, it's Monday.
Yeah, so we still have almost a full week to go till we watch it. 5 days or something like that. So keep an eye out for next week on episode number 41, and we will be talking about the Vivy finale. Next up on the list is the 86.
It is.
Okay, I didn't have my list up. The 86 episode number 10.
Thank you.
This was not what I was expecting. We talked about this last week. The big question is, where do we go from here? And we're like, hey, I think that you literally were like, I think we're done with those characters. I think they're gone. I think they're dead.
I honestly thought they were dead.
I mean, the end of this episode might imply that you could be right.
Yeah, it was just a week early.
Yeah, so this episode is literally all just the remaining 86. So, the 5 characters, whatever the hell their names are. Shin,
Raiden's one,
Laughing Fox Kid, the
Gunslinger, and Anju.
Yeah, so you have the 5 of them. They're just kind of just having a good time. I really enjoyed the episode. It's just about them like traveling. They're surviving, so they're camping. They're going fishing at some points. And a lot of it's just kind of showing. It's kind of diving into like the mental state of Shin for the most part, because now that he's finished like the one thing he was supposed to do, like you can definitely say that Raiden, or his name is very concerned about like what does he have to live for now. Yeah,
he seems a lot more carefree. He's cracking jokes, but it's kind of like,
that's why,
that a good
that's
thing?
why like when Shin goes missing for that part, he kind of like worries a little bit. Like you can even see as like whenever he like looks at him, he has like a different expression than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like at the one point, Shin's taking a nap and they're all like watching and they're discussing him kind of thing, and they're like, oh, he seems so happy, but like you can see in like Raiden's face that he doesn't buy it. Like he doesn't like it.
He has that look on his face like, I feel like this is like the calm before a storm.
Yeah, just because literally he had 2 things, right? One was I guess maybe you could look at it like Shin's not done until they all die first.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing is, bringing everyone to the end kind of situation, and then it was, killing his brother, and he's done most of those jobs, so
yeah.
But a lot of it's just like it's not going to be a very long segment talking about it, because there's not a lot to talk about. Like a lot of it's just the characters kind of interacting with each other. We're seeing like a really nice, like I really enjoyed like the landscape in the episode. Like we're not seeing the city from like Lena's point of view. We're not just seeing like the shitty battlefields or like the camp from 86.
We're seeing basically reclaimed land.
We're seeing like old cities, which is nice. Like they look relatively like modern in like a sense, maybe like
mid-century Europe.
Yeah, something along those lines of like abandoned cities. We're seeing like nice lakes. We're seeing some like the Legion at night. They're like moving across the bridge kind of thing.
It was like a scout party or something like that.
Yeah, and then the main cast is like trying to figure out how they can cross the water, because they can't go in like their juggernauts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're just kind of seeing a lot of that. At one point, we see Shin wander off in the night, and then they go to look for him. He's in the zoo, and he's found like a Legion that can't move anymore. And he basically just does his Shin thing, and he feels bad for it was an 86, and he goes in, he takes them out, so he finishes them off, so they don't have to keep he can lay them to rest basically.
Yeah.
And then like the end of the episode gets very, very weird for a little bit.
Yeah, you're talking about where it starts like from Fido's point of
Yeah,
view.
we then for like I thought like the episode was like over, and then like because I guess I wasn't paying attention to how long the episode was or like what the title like what the time was. So I'm like, okay, the episode's gonna end here, maybe with like a little bit of a cliffhanger, and then for like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, it was just making you feel horrible for the 86.
Yeah, for like a quarter of the episode, we literally just go into Fido's point of view, who's like the robot that they travel with. We see him first meeting Shin on like the battlefield.
Yeah.
And this makes us question, like, what is he? Is he a Legion?
I don't know, because the way that Shin's able to communicate with him makes me think that is the case. He's a human brain basically shoved into this robot.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the look of any of the Legion. I don't think if he was Legion that they'd let him stay there so long and like work in the base. But like it's almost like the same type of thing.
I mean, it might just be like a really advanced AI, or it could be something that was like the precursor to the Legion.
Maybe, because obviously the Legion were just like developed by an empire to use as like war machines. The whole situation after them like slowly taking over kind of thing, like that was not supposed to happen, we can assume.
Yeah, and then we don't know if the Legion using like human brains as an imprint to create more of them was something that was predetermined,
that was planned, or if it was an accidental kind of thing.
Yeah, like if it was originally meant to be like this is so soldiers could fight remotely and not have to worry about lag or anything like that. Or if this is something the Legion thought, hey, we could just shove human brains in us and make this work. Yeah,
that's it. We don't know about that. That's a lot of lore for the 86 for us. But we know that like something's up with Fido. We're seeing a lot of his perspective. We're seeing them go through different times. Like we're seeing when they first meet. We're seeing a couple different battles, just chilling at the base. We see like the fireworks scene. We're seeing a lot of stuff. A lot of nice moments.
Yeah, we get a few characters we never really got to see. We got to see the guy who drew the 129 days until my service is done.
We saw him briefly when in like the fireworks episode. We saw the whole thing. He seemed like a very hype kind of guy.
Yeah,
very outspoken guy with like the dreads, right?
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a couple different things of them like sitting down and like talking to Fido kind of thing, because obviously he's a machine, so everybody just like kind of cool around him.
Yeah, there were scenes like, do you know which one of these is worse to eat? And he chose the right ones. And like, wow, even he knows.
Yeah, it was just a lot of like fun scenes with the 86, obviously to make us feel bad because they're all dead.
Yeah.
And then it's all just leading up to the end of the episode, where then it shows him just on like a fiery landscape, like in modern time, before then he explodes.
Yeah, so I think that's their
and
final fight.
I think if you were watching this, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm relatively close. The episode takes place in like October 12th and 13th, like the episode, and I think this was October 30th. So I think it's like 2 weeks from when we see shit hits the fan. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Now, obviously, they mentioned multiple times about like even Raiden, or whatever his name is a concern that Shin's going to try and cross the river alone, kind of situation. Before they like move on, and they're trying to figure out the situation to get across it. So this could be part of it, like the next part. But it was just an interesting episode because we did not think we were going to see them again for a while, maybe, if anything. And then the episode was like solely them, like no lean at all. And then
they indirectly mention her a couple times, but that's it. So.
Yeah, I can't really once again, just like last week before this episode, I still can't really see where the show's going to go from here.
I mean,
like before the finale.
We just established that they have about 2 more weeks of surviving, so they'll probably focus on that.
Maybe, but you think they're just going to not have Lena for the next couple weeks?
I mean, they'll probably cut to her and show like the fallout from her actions, because she's definitely going to have something happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the focus is going to be on the 86, because they were really the bread and butter of the series.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think that we're going to have like the old school formula of like a couple of them are going to get picked off at a time. I think that when they do go, it'll probably all be at once. Just
yeah, it'll all be in one fight. Because even the last time we saw characters die, it was like 3 or 4 of them in like the span of seconds.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just really curious. Like, I think this show, like, it was a very emotional episode. It was nice to see. We get to see more of like the 86 just at the base when there was more of them.
Yeah.
Some of the characters that we really liked before, then they got absolutely guffed. And it was just enjoyable. And they're like, hey, remember, like, we've seen this robot Fido a few times, but like, have you ever really emotionally connected with him? Because now we're gonna let you. And then they're like, and now we're gonna explode him. So
yeah, that was a really good way to make me feel really, really bad.
I knew something was coming at the end, but like I just wasn't expecting the just explosion of Fido. I'm like, well, that's sad now. Why'd you make me like this robot?
Yeah, I know. I watched it last night before I went to bed. And I just went, well, now I'm depressed. Screw you.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what we get from next week when we get from, I know that this is something that's ongoing and there'll probably be more seasons if it performs well. So like the big question for us every single week is like, how do they continue this? This isn't like a...
I mean, this is a long running series because when I was watching it, I remember scrolling down just to read the first couple comments, and one of them talks about how Fido's backstory is established in like volume 8. And this is volume 1.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those like it's not like a shonen where we can easily see the formula of how they can keep this going.
Yeah. More
Right
mechs,
now,
more people, more fights.
yeah, really, like all we can really guess is that we do, as we guessed last week, that we just get new sets of 86 as maybe Lena tries to think about a way to change the world. But we know that there's like a timeline here before like they'll absolutely just lose this war anyways.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she gets another person who turns into a Reaper, or
I mean, I don't 100% know if these characters are actually completely done though. Like, at least not all of them. Like, there's still a chance that Shin doesn't die or he stays alive somehow.
There is a potential that they forego the Juggernauts and they just find a place they can bunker down and using Shin avoid the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
That is possible, but I just don't see how they're going to have an impact on future seasons unless they're like almost a refuge for 86.
Yeah, or unless we hit like a time skip or something like that. Like,
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, it's so just like we're going in blind to it, which is a good thing. A lot of people like that.
True. Because, I mean, think about it. 129 days, that's a little over 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
So if every time the Spearhead Squadron gets a unit, they have 4 months before they get executed, basically. If they skip a year, that means we have 3 more batches of recruits to whatever Shin's base would be if he does survive.
Yeah.
So maybe they're about to lose the war and the 86 come in and save the day.
I mean, maybe. But
I mean,
even
that sounds a little generic.
yeah, especially for like just that small number of them, like can really even though Shin's obviously really good, can like 5 of them make like a difference kind of situation?
Well, yeah, I was thinking like if they send like 5 or 3 and then they have like maybe 30 of them. But
Maybe there's also the possibility that there are other people in like places out here that like don't have the Legion.
Yeah,
like they mentioned in this episode, they're like, hey, we don't know for sure what's out there. Like we don't know if all countries have, if the Legion has went to all these areas and taken over. Like they don't know. So
yeah,
there's a possibility that Shin and them find like a country or like something that isn't occupied by Legion. So
yeah, it's possible. I mean, because the Empire has managed to fight the Legion off. I mean, they've done it through horrible means, but it is possible.
yeah, the only downside to us is seeing is that we've seen Fido explode now. I don't think we have very high optimistic outtakes for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I think Fido is the last one to go, just based on the fact that he almost seemed like the record keeper.
Now I wonder if like next episode will be like the next week, and then 2 episodes from now, which will be like maybe the finale of this core, will be the 2 weeks that we're seeing
Maybe,
ahead of time. Like they match up real time and showtime.
It would be so depressing if they ended with them all just dying.
Yeah, I think that there's probably not all going to die. I think they're going to take it another way, but I don't know which way, so we'll have to wait to see.
I mean, if someone survives, who do you think it's actually going to be?
Shin.
I don't know.
I feel like this one they want you to believe that like there's no reason to keep Shin alive because of he's done all this stuff.
I mean, yeah, but they're constantly talking about him finding someone to carry him on after he dies.
Yeah, but I think that's a red herring. I think Shin's going to stay alive.
I mean, they
He's
talk
gonna
about how
find a new
Lena was supposed to carry him on.
Yeah, but
And I'm almost wondering if Lena's going to start having like her units start hearing these voices too.
I mean, maybe like if she's rated with him like too much kind of thing, but I don't know. I feel like he's not going to die. I don't know if he's going to directly be like, just like, hey, they all die, but he gets like rescued and he comes back in or something like that. But I think that he's going to continue on in some aspect.
Maybe. Yeah.
Even if we get like different perspectives of him like surviving in the fucking outside world or something like that, or
maybe.
We don't really know. Either way, we're looking forward to seeing it. If you have any thoughts, theories, anything like that on the 86, put them down below. As always, keep it spoiler free, or if you're going to spoil, just make sure you tag it right and then place it long enough below that people have to hit read more to see it. And we will be back talking about it next week. Next up on the list is Tokyo Revengers, episode number 10.
Re-Rise.
So I thought this was a really good episode.
Yeah.
Once again, it was a good episode for Takemichi. I mentioned this last week. I'm kind of tired of like every episode. There's like this moment where he's like, "Oh, I am a loser," and then he's like, "Oh, but I'm gonna try not to be a loser."
Yeah, I mean, I understand that's kind of what he's been doing this whole time, but you need to either have him go one way or another for more than a couple episodes.
Yeah, and that's it. They've kind of just been jumping back and forth like constantly. So I think this episode was a good like him stand up episode, which is nice.
Yeah.
So obviously we continue last week where he discovers Draken has been stabbed. We show him go like rush to Draken and I'd like to say try to help, but like I mean he doesn't like put pressure on the wound.
He's just kind of like kneeling. He assumed he was dead to start.
Yeah.
He didn't check his pulse. He didn't check him or anything.
That's what I'm saying. Come on, like he's supposed to be like 28 or something at this point. Like
I mean was a pretty shitty 28-year-old.
I guess, but I mean you could still like anybody knows like to maybe check a pulse and maybe to put pressure on the wound or rip some clothing off and try to make like a bandage or something. Like try to do something.
I mean, for an abdomen wound, like it's a lot more complicated than.
Does he not own a cell phone?
I don't know. Like my first thought was like call an ambulance, and he's like, no, I'm going to carry him manually, like just drag him.
I guess to be fair, if this is like 10 years ago, like did we own cell phones?
Everyone else does.
You know what? I was about to say I actually did own a cell phone. Yeah.
So did I.
So yeah, I don't know. It's it just comes down to like there's some things he could have done, but either way, it's showing a lot of Mikey fighting the other guy, like the current leader or whatever. It's current guy in Mobius. Obviously, like they're more even matched, but I still say Mikey has like the upper hand. Like he's getting more hits in.
Yeah, Mikey's getting more hits and he's doing more damage with each hit, but this is the first time we've seen Mikey take damage.
Yeah, and a lot of it he is also fighting while distracted. Like he does quickly see from Takemichi or like Takemichi shouts that, Draken's been stabbed. So he's worried about Draken and trying to like help out, but he can't because he has to fight him. So he's like, Takemichi, like I'm leaving this up to you. Yeah. So Takemichi, he basically just puts him on his back and he starts walking.
I mean, I respect the effort.
Yeah, it's the same thing though. I feel like that would be very dangerous if he just had like a open like abdomen stab and you're like moving him around a lot. He's like, what have you not put anything done to stop the bleeding? Like realistic, I know it's anime, but I mean realistically, if he just had like depends on how deep the stab was and all that kind of stuff and where it was, but like just an open stab wound without like any pressure on it at all is just going to constantly bleed. We don't even see any blood on Takemichi like when he takes Draken off.
Yeah, I mean I feel like that's just like an animation issue, but
probably I mean I'm just saying too much about them. I'm like too concerned with them putting too much blood on.
Plus I mean I think the more blood you have like on characters, the more it ups the age rating in Japan.
Probably.
So.
Either way, it's a good hero moment for Takemichi. He's just like, I'm going to carry this big motherfucker to a hospital as fast as I can. Luckily, upon like him very, very slowly walking, he does run into what's her name? He runs into both. Yeah, he runs into Hina and Emma, and they're like, "Hey, listen, like we'll call an ambulance. Like we have cell phones, so we're not complete idiots."
Yeah.
So they call an ambulance and they say to wait right here. And then we get like a little bit of time has passed, and Takemichi's like, "Are you sure? Like this is where the ambulance is supposed to come?" And they're like, "Yeah, it is. Like we did it." And then
they start talking about how it's like, oh, with the crowds and the rain, it's hard for them to get here. It's like,
yeah, and then who should we see approach in the distance? But exactly who we didn't want to see approach in the distance, which is like Kiyomasa and his little crew back from episode number 1. They start mocking Takashitty or whatever the fuck they call him. I don't remember, like Shitty Michi or something.
I think it's like Shitty Trashy or like
Trashamichi, I think is
or Taka Trashy maybe.
Yeah, so they just keep mocking him, right? Because last time they saw him, they had just duct taped him to the ground. So they're even like, "Hey, someone get me the duct tape again."
Yeah.
I was really concerned the whole time. Like once again, like these are bad guys. It wasn't this crew. It was Mobius that did the whole like. Sexually assaulting the guy's girlfriend and beating up the family. Yeah, but I was very much more concerned for Emma and Hina than I was concerned for Takemichi and Draken.
I mean, even during the initial fight before Draken got stabbed, like Emma was just there. They didn't go after her.
Yeah, she was just there, and that was Mobius with them, and I know what they're capable of.
Yeah, like maybe they were just worried about Draken that much.
Maybe like it was just like the one track mind. I'm sure that like they were with Pe, whatever his name was. I'm sure he wouldn't want to do the same thing that was done to like his kind of friend or But either way, like I was a little bit more concerned for them when their crew shows up.
Like the whole time I was just thinking like, okay, if Takemichi's actually gonna fight, just drag Draken away.
But yeah, it comes down to Takemichi just 100% realizing that he's just like he's got a nut up or shut up kind of situation. So he literally comes out there and he's like, "Yo, Kiyomasa," he's like, "We never finished our 1v1." He's like, "Let's go." And then as like to support him from the back, Draken's like $1 million on Takemichi. And then, Hina's like, "Yeah, I also want $1 million." And then Emma's like, 30 million. Like, on
Emma was the one who upped it. Just like,
yeah. And they're all just like, they're all laughing, like, think it's funny. And then Takemichi just runs in for the epic hit. And then just gets fucking stabbed through the hand.
Yeah, like the moment he rushed him was like, the dude has a knife. I'm wondering if he's going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic, like, we want, like, the whole point of challenging to the 1v1 was to buy more time in a situation that, has less odds for you to get absolutely destroyed. And just hoping that like his pride makes him want to do it. But clearly his pride didn't actually matter because he stabs Takemichi and then immediately goes like, "This ain't a 1v1, bro. Like I got all these people here too." Yeah. The nice part is he stabs Takemichi and then leaves the knife in his hand. Now, I don't know about you guys. I get like, main character's supposed to be a good guy, but Takemichi just holding that knife or like passing the knife to like Hina or like Draken or something just in case, like all of a sudden they become 100% more threatening. Yeah. Like even Takemichi not being that good of a fighter, him just holding the knife he just got stabbed with. I know they also still have another knife, but all of a sudden you become a much more. They don't want to just rush in now. You can buy extra time.
Yeah, like if you rush someone who's holding a knife, they don't have to be good with it.
Yeah, like this is a life or death situation. Why are you just throwing this knife away? I understand that you don't want to kill anybody, but like life or death situation, right? This isn't just like they're not just going to beat you up. Like they genuinely intend to kill you at this point.
Yeah, so, I mean we know Takemichi isn't very bright. And we also know that standard shonen, you're never going to give the main character a knife unless everyone else is using freaking machine guns.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of sucked. He threw the knife away, but he doesn't give up just because the cool hand wound. He still has to stick his ground.
Yeah.
At this point, he basically just says, like, as soon as he realizes that they're not going to get anywhere, he tells Hina and Emma just to run. Right? He knows they can't even take Draken with them. He's just like, he just accepts that, like, hey, me and Draken probably gonna die. He's like, but Emma, Hina run, and they obviously don't want to, like, especially Emma. And he looks back at Hina and he's like, no, we got this. Like, you just have to go. And she's like, okay. She's like, I trust Takemichi. I'll take his word for it. So they leave. Right, nice and gone, perfect. Yeah. And then Draken gets up. He's like, oh, I'm gonna put up a fight. And then it's like the two of them having a little bit of banter, being like, can barely move. Like Takemichi stumbles over.
Like his arm is like heavily bruised and he can't even lift after fighting Kiyomasa. And
yeah, so he's kind of fucked because he took a couple whales earlier too when he was trying to hold him down.
Yeah, even that, like when he like spider monkeyed on top of him and like choked him out, like he's got like huge like handprints on his arms.
Yeah, like there's like he took Kiyomasa out, which is like pretty heroic, but then unfortunately then the rest of the guys are like, okay, like we don't care. It's not like a beat the leader and they all flee kind of situation. They're like, oh, like you barely were able to do that, and they just make fun of Kiyomasa after that.
Yeah, I think Kiyomasa just lost even more credit than he lost before. So.
Yeah, so the rest of the gang's still ready just to absolutely kill Draken. They still have the knife. And then who should hop out of the bushes but Akakun and just punch the dude right in the face.
Yeah, nice little note. He like slams into a gate and like throws the knife into a
he punches the dude into the gate, and then the guy's just like, oh no, my knife, and like throws it behind a gate that he can't get to.
I know it was meant to make it so that the characters wouldn't all die in the next 30 seconds, but...
Yeah, I was concerned because like the whole reason that this fight went terribly to begin with, like the old fight at the gladiatorial arena wherever they were, was because the one friend has health concerns. Yeah. And I'm like, this friend's gonna get beat the shit up right now. What about his health concerns? Luckily, the one he was fighting looked kind of like an idiot. He looked like he was like lightly hitting him on the head.
Like maybe that guy's
he had him in like chokehold. And he's just like,
Maybe he's like the chill one. Maybe he's like, I didn't want to be here.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not a big fan of this gang. He's like, but like, I'll really get stabbed if I back out now. So just pretend I'm hitting you hard.
Yeah, act like this hurts and you get to walk away.
But yeah, Takemichi's whole friend group shows up. They said they were called by Hina, and they're there to back him up. And then we get some inspirational lines by Akun, directly copying things that Takemichi said in the past.
Yeah, and then they get their asses kicked.
But they still stand up though. They're still there.
I mean, I appreciate this type of fight, the battle of willpower more than anything.
Yeah, it even looks like for a minute they almost look like they're spooking like the enemy just by like the fact that they won't back down even though they're getting their asses kicked.
Yeah.
Until eventually the very end is just we hear the ambulance or the police or whatever it is coming on their way, and then that's where Takemichi's just like, hey guys, we won. And that's just where it ends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the ambulance showing up because I don't think anyone called the cops.
Yeah.
As logical as that would have been.
Yeah, I mean, you think that like Hina's like, I have time to call Takemichi's loser friends. Could I dial 911 or 119 or where the fuck is his name?
I guess they are like delinquents and like a lot of the gang's probably criminal in some capacity.
Yeah, but call it, and even if you're not calling on the whole like Mikey group fighting, like call it here. I was like, worst case, even if like Draken and like Takemichi get in trouble, they're not dead though. Like, you know what?
Yeah,
there's a real chance of death here.
Like, there's the simple explanation is like, hey, we were just walking and these dudes tried to stab us.
Yeah, I mean, they might not buy it from like Draken because he's got like a tattoo on his face. So
I mean, even so, he's the one who got stabbed.
Yeah, it's true. So, and the other guys are clearly gang members. So it just seems like it would have been a smart choice, but obviously that wouldn't have been as hype. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe this is ambulance and police showing up. We don't know for sure.
True.
But either way, that's just where the episode ends. So they technically won just by like a battle of attrition because now the other guys are gonna have to bail. And then hopefully Draken makes it out. Like this, he still got stabbed a while ago, and he's been moving now for it too. So
yeah.
I wouldn't say he's completely out of danger yet, and obviously Takemichi's got some wounds and shit now too from getting stabbed in the hand. And
I mean, yeah, he's obviously still in better shape than Draken for the most part.
There's still the outcome of whatever's happening with Mikey's fight and the rest of their gang over there. And
yeah, it looked like Mikey's gang like had everything under control.
Yeah, I think that like the one guy from the Mobius is obviously like a good fighter fighting Mikey, but like all of the commanders
are just kicking ass.
Are just absolutely kicking ass. Like they're all like characters themselves. Like a lot of them are in like the like the opening, and like they're in like the art for the like the main art for the show. So they're all like really, really good fighters and important characters. Like even Draken, right? When he realizes he's done, he's like looking at the fourth commander, like the blue-haired motorcycle guy. He's like, "Hey, you take over the rest down." The guy's like, "Yeah, no big deal, dude." He's like, "Put me in." So they're all obviously really strong, and just the one guy fighting Mikey, even if they're like, let's say, even if they're completely even matched, which I don't think they are. I think that Mikey's been having the upper hand. as soon as they take out the rest of the Mobius guys, and they still have all these commander guys who are pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen? I think they're just gonna bail.
Yeah, I think like by nature they're not gonna interfere with a Mikey fight.
I think like cops will show up and everyone will have to bail, like kind of situation, which we'll probably see next week if they don't just skip that and explain what happened to give us like the outcome of like the Draken stuff.
I feel like we're gonna open with like Takemichi passing out.
Probably, or just like Takemichi waking up at a hospital or something like we've seen before after everything else that happened, and then just trying to figure out if Draken's dead or not.
Yeah, that moment of waking up was like, oh crap, did he die?
Yeah, waking up being like, oh shit, like where was I last? Okay, now I didn't die, but did Draken die? So trying to figure that out. It was a really good episode though. Like we got a lot of Takemichi stepping up, and this time he didn't really have like a low. There was like a 1 second where he thought about running when he first saw the gang, and then even like Draken kind of stands up, and then Takemichi's like, did Draken realize I was about to try and run? Because he's like, oh, Takemichi, leave. But then Takemichi immediately is just like, no. He's like, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, he gave him the out, and he's like, crap, I can't take it.
Yeah, so I mean, there was like the 1 second where it was almost like he was thinking about you kind of being like, shitty again, but he didn't.
Which,
so
I mean, it was a nice thing to see him just kind of overcome that past trauma. Because like the Kiyomasa was really key to him kind of overcoming that and just getting his life together. So
yeah, the Kiyomasa is like the start of that is what fucked over his whole original life to begin with, right? Like
yeah, like I mean, to be fair, it was him looking at his friends like, we're gonna be delinquents and we're gonna go fight these kids at this other middle school.
Yeah, bad decision making to lead it off, but after that, it didn't go very well either. So either way, it was a very enjoyable episode. I'm really liking Tokyo Revengers so far. I don't know. I'm hoping it's like a 24, 25 episode first season. It'd be like a good show for it because we're just getting introduced to some of these commanders. I think after the situation, especially like if he manages to save Draken, like how much Mikey's like respect will go up for him, how much Draken's respect has probably went up for him now.
Maybe Draken will teach him how to fight.
Maybe they actually teach him how to fight, or some of the other commanders. He probably actually gets into the actual good part of the gang. Not only that, but like his friends now, like his friends showing up while like Draken's in danger. His friends are gonna become cooler too. The gang won't look at them as low. Like, obviously, they didn't really do that much, but like just the fact that they came in to save Draken.
I mean, obviously, they didn't dislike them. Like Draken chilled with them, so
yeah, it's more just like they didn't give a fuck. Like they were ants compared to them, but now maybe like people care about.
I feel like the two dudes are still gonna be like a joke.
Yeah, but like Akun for sure. Like he's obviously he got into the gang and got some decent respect at some point that we know, but
yeah, I mean, he was described himself as a soldier, so he wasn't too high up.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that shows how shitty his life went is that his one dream is to be a hairdresser, and in the future he had a shaved head. That's just giving up. That's giving up on your dreams right there. But I don't know, enjoyable episode if you guys are liking Tokyo Revengers. I've heard that it's doing really, really well. Like both the manga is like doing crazy well. Like it's like was outselling Attack on Titan some months and stuff like that, which is pretty insane. And then the anime is doing really well too. So I'm sure we'll get a lot more in the future. So this is something that you can probably reasonably expect to come back to every couple of seasons to discuss with us if you're a fan. So let us know down below if you're liking it so far. I think that's it. And we will see you next week for episode number 11.
I think so.
Episode number 11. Yeah, I'm always confused because Vivy seems like it's so far ahead with like 12. But compared to most of them are 10. But the next show we have is actually in episode number 11, which is Higehiro.
Resolve.
Once again, this is kind of like going back to like the 86. This is probably going to be a pretty short part because
it's all emotional.
It's all emotional. Like we obviously see some nice parts of, it starts off with them on the plane. Sayu's talking about how she's never been on a plane before and they're having a good time on it, But it's they're having a good time. They go to the cafe. They're getting some drinks. She's like, hey, I've never really been to the cafe. I never had that life where I was just out with friends going to cafe. She's like, my mom basically wanted me to come home immediately after school and didn't want me going out.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you're seeing some of the backstory again. You're seeing more reason to hate her mom in case you didn't have enough already. I'm sure like the show never wants us just to 100% hate a character, especially like a mom. They're gonna want to give us some things.
There are some series like what was the one that had the girl with the psychic powers? She could read everyone's mind. I'll remember this after we finish.
Okay. I was like, I don't know.
But the mom basically abandoned her because she could read her mind. So.
Oh wait, I do know. What the hell is it though? Why does that feel like it's from so long ago?
It kind of was, but I feel like it starts with a K or like it's the main. I think it's the character's name for the opening.
Yeah, I do remember that though.
Yeah, like it's the same scenario. It's the mom's just like,
but the mom comes back in later, and like they even want you to feel like a little bit bad for the mom, being like this is like a child that she couldn't deal with. Like it's hard to be a parent sometimes. Like shows.
Yeah, but she still just abandoned her child. And
no, listen. If you want to talk about bad parent that the show doesn't want you to like, future diary, his father.
Oh my god, I forgot about him.
He's a good one. The show does not want you to like him, but typically anime wants you to like the parents. I think we're gonna get some backstory for like with the father situation. Obviously, like her dad is probably a dick. We've sort of heard that he was having like affairs and stuff like that.
They specifically describe him as he had a thing for affairs. It's not just he had an affair.
Yeah, he was just prone to having them. He really liked affairs. So I think we're gonna get a little bit more with her as to why she's such a bitch. Like I think the anime is gonna at least try to give us that in the last like episode or two, whatever we have. But for the most part, it's just kind of explaining why. It's just like seeing from Saya's perspective as like, you know, why she didn't have like a normal childhood and what kind of eventually led up to the point of her only having that one friend who approached her instead of having all these other friends just because of the situation she was in. And then the most part of the episode honestly takes place before they go home. Sayo has to be dropped off at the school, and it's about her and Yoshida going up to the roof, confronting her past. You know, they have a really emotional speech where she's discussing how like she blames herself, and at one point it even looks like she's starting the sentence of like, you know, I wish I had died or kind of thing. Instead, Yoshida stops her and explains it like, you know, it's not your fault. And then, you know, Sayo's like, oh, if it's not my fault, that means I have to blame her, and I don't want to do that. He's like, no, you don't have to. He's like, you just have to accept that it happened, and then you have to move on.
Yeah, I do like how he started with the don't blame the bullies because it is their fault, but that obviously didn't work.
Yeah, that never works for anybody. I mean, it's hard to really get too deep into it because obviously suicide's a big thing, not just in anime, in all life. But like I don't know, even as a perspective of someone watching it, you know, I for the most part would be very much still mad at the girl who did it. You know. Like it's just one of those situations. She's like what, like 15 kind of thing. Like obviously she has a hard home life. She has a hard school life, I assume. Like we didn't see the home life.
Yeah, we know that her school life kind of sucked.
Yeah, and I assume like that alone probably wasn't enough. Her home life probably wasn't great either. But like at the same point, it's always like, you know, there's a lot of extra life to live.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're that young and you're dealing with things that big, it can be overwhelming. So.
Yeah, I mean, even like the way she did it though, like calling her friend up and basically like putting that, like she doesn't realize because she's so young about like what she did now is obviously going to make her friend lead to blaming herself. Yeah, like she didn't think far enough through to realize that was 100% what was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure in her head she was thinking like, I'm just going to say goodbye then jump.
Yeah, like she 100% is like, I just want my friend to smile again. Like, you know, good intentions, but like, did it work? Obviously not.
Yeah, if anything, you made things 100 times worse.
So I think that Yoshida knew that. That's why he's like he's like, it's okay to blame her too, kind of situation. Because like, yes, like it wasn't a good choice. It was a terrible choice. She did a stupid thing. But at the same time, he can't just be like, just blame her though. She's a dumbass. He's got to be like, listen, it's not your fault. It's not necessarily her fault. It is the bully's fault. But I guess you don't want to admit that. So it's just life happens. Yeah. Move on from there. You know, she has a little cry it out kind of situation. Then they kind of resolve it, and like even as they leave the roof, she's like, you know, I'm not ready to smile about her yet. Like while thinking about it, she's like, but my goal to one day to think about her like fondly and be able to smile. You know, it's about, you know, she hasn't like completely forgiven the situation, but she's in a place now where she'll be able to move on from it, which is good. And then the next part is the whole confronting her mother situation, which is the other main issue. Upon where they immediately enter the house, and the mom walks up and gives her a good old smackaroo, and not a kiss. The old-fashioned smackaroo right across the face.
We wanted Yoshida to do this to the mom, and she beat him to it.
Yeah, I was like wondering, there was two outcomes, right? We see the mom rushing forward. It was like a camera shot of her, she's rushing forward. Is she rushing forward for a hug, or is she rushing forward for a smack? Those were the two outcomes.
Yeah.
One is like you know, Sayo comes in, she thinks the mom's gonna be so mad. She's like looking down, like doesn't want to face her, that kind of thing. The mom runs up, she thinks she's gonna hit her, and the mom actually gives her a hug. And it's not about what they did. The mom's made mistakes, she's made mistakes, but it's about the fact that she's her mother and she's been worried about her.
Yeah, but that would make her a good person.
But instead she goes for the smack. And I still think the next episode they're gonna try and sell us on like her life also being hard.
I mean, I just don't care.
I know, I don't know. Like, I hope they don't, because like, you know, it's too late to care. Like we have an episode or two left. Yeah. I can't believe like what we've seen from the past, like the reason that Sayo ended up doing this. Like I feel like if Sayo even explained what happened, like that she had to go around and sleep with guys just to have a place to live because she did not want to go back home to her mom, the mom will think that's more like embarrassing for her.
Yeah. She'll make it about her.
Yeah, she's like, great, my daughter's like a whore kind of situation. Like the mom will be bad in that situation too.
I feel like the mom might actually respond with, okay, well then go out and keep doing that because you're not welcome here.
I mean, I'm excited to see like Yoshida's reaction to it, like what he, like when him and the mom probably have like a talking to kind of thing. Like I'm excited to see that, how it goes, because like obviously Yoshida's been like a semi-parent to her for like a couple months or a couple weeks or like that, and he's a much better one.
Yeah, he's been the only parent she's had for a long time, I think.
And it sucks too because we've seen her brother now a few times, and he seems like a really nice guy.
But I don't think he has the clout to deal with his mom.
Yeah, he's not doing enough when it comes to her. He's like, you know, he wants her to be happy and wants to help her, but he like doesn't want to go against like their mother. and their mom's kind of a bitch. So
yeah, like did you see her face when she slapped her?
Yeah,
it was anger into indifference.
It wasn't like I'm crying and I'm so upset about what you did kind of situation, so I'm gonna hit you then like cry it out after.
I actually replayed the scene.
It's like I'm pissed and now I don't even care that you're home.
Yeah, I got it out of my system. Now I'm done.
Yeah, so
like, I thought I honestly my mind superimposed tears onto her face because I expected it that much. I had to rewatch the scene.
I'm just excited to really see how Yoshida reacts to this.
I really want him to slap a bitch.
I want the brother just to stand up to, like, I want the brother to man up a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't need to care about him that much. He's not
brother
that,
slap.
He's not that. I don't think so.
I mean, you never know.
It takes a lot for a son to hit his mother. That's like a big thing, But Yoshida's a stranger. You can hit a stranger. No big deal.
Yeah, except for that's a criminal offense. If a son hits a mom, that's a family dispute.
I think that's still possibly a criminal defense.
Yeah, but it's lesser.
Maybe. I'm excited next week to see. As I said, not tons to talk about this week, but we're getting pretty close to the finale. I think the finale is going to be a pretty big emotional episode as well. But we can kind of dive into the finale. If we don't have that much to talk about, we can talk about just our overall feelings on this season as a whole, on the show as a whole.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think Sai is going to end up going back with Yoshida?
I don't think so.
Do you really think they're going to keep her with that mom?
I don't know.
See,
I still think, not that I want it, but I still think the show is going to try to give like a scapegoat to the mom to be like, hey, like her life is hard.
I wouldn't be surprised, but still, there's a couple things you don't do, and one of them is taking it out on your kid.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm not saying that she's a good. I think that she's going to come at the perspective where, like, yeah, she's not a good mother, but like being a mother is hard. Like, no one has prepared her to be a mother. She literally just tried to. Only reason she had a baby was to try to keep her husband that she loved.
Yeah,
and then it didn't work anyways.
She already had a kid though.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And her logic was maybe 2 will work.
Yeah, she's like, well, 1 kid's not enough to stop the affairs, but 2 though.
Yeah, because even the thing is, like, that meant that Sai was never about having a daughter. It was about keeping the guy who didn't want to be with her.
Yeah. So I mean, she's clearly never been a good mother. It just comes down to whether or not they're going to try and at least be like, hey, she's not a good mother, but like, you still got to feel like a little bit bad for her from the situation. She just, loved her husband kind of thing, and she just wanted love in return. She never got that. She was like an emotionally abused kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of twists they could put on it to not be like, hey, she's a good mother. She was actually doing this all for her daughter the whole time. But to be like, hey, listen, like, you don't need to forgive her, but you need to move on for that as well kind of situation.
I mean, yeah, that'd be the ideal ending, but I think they want him to end up, and her to end up with Yoshida.
Probably, but I don't want her to end up with Yoshida in a daughter-like situation, as we've mentioned, which I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but...
I mean, maybe she ends up in that position, but they never get together. Maybe he just acts as a father.
Maybe he gets together with, hopefully not Mishima. Hopefully he gets together with Gojo, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she just becomes kind of like a stepmother situation for her, and they become a happy family. Who knows? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it, guys. Maybe he doesn't like date his weird daughter girl. I don't know. Let's just.
Yeah. I mean, I think no matter what, it's bordering on creepy as it is.
I think that they managed to not make it seem trashy though. Like I
know it's not trashy, but even the fact that they're talking about, it's like, oh, I'm so glad you came. You used your vacation days, which I am glad he didn't just quit his job.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even take vacation from what I've heard of in their job in Japan. So
yeah.
I mean, it's good he took it. I guess a lot of his coworkers, in a sense, even like Gojo, I think is his direct superior. So yeah. I'm sure she was pretty, on board with him taking it. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they could very easily play the card of like, listen, he fixes 90% of our problems. He's the reason our department works.
Let's give him a week off or a weekend off or something,
Yeah, he can go deal with family issues. Like,
yeah, so I'm excited to see where the show goes. Obviously, when that episode comes out, where it's done, we'll discuss what we think of the outcome of the season and the outcome of the finale, and the outcome between Sayu and Yoshida's relationship. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be, I assume, either next week or the week after. It seems like we're getting pretty close. And then, if you like this episode, if there's any parts of this episode you particularly liked, leave it in a comment down below, and we will respond back to you before we talk about the next week episode next week. Are we last up on the list? To Your Eternity, episode number 10.
The last one.
I don't even want to talk about the episode. I just want to talk about the end. Jacked Gugu, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Jacked Gugu, what we all wanted.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, the fact that he lived.
Okay, let's preface this by saying for now, because I'm not 100% sure if he's living much longer still.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible, but
yeah. Before we even get to what happened in the episode, jacked Gugu, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what we all wanted. Now, my concern was that Reen looked no older. She looked the exact fucking same.
She looked older.
I don't know.
She was scaled up. She didn't change in figure.
Yeah, Gugu changed in figure. You know who else changed? Fushi.
Yeah.
which I was not expecting even a little bit.
Yeah, I thought he'd be like frozen in time. I didn't think he would actually age. Like he's like, oh wow, I got facial hair now.
His face looked older too. He's got 100% fully functioning speech now. Oh my god, a game changer to the show.
He still has that slight accent.
It was an absolute game changer to the show.
Like there's other like it sounds like he's going through puberty.
Why?
Because even Gugu was like, dude, pop those zits.
Oh yeah, I don't know if he's
just growing facial hair.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, like I feel like the kid, like whatever his name was only like 14, but
yeah, but this is like what 3 years later?
Yeah, 4 years.
So he's 18 now.
Yeah.
Seems like a little bit of a late onset, but maybe that's just delayed due to what Fushi is.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess we should discuss the episode before they get to this point. I just wanted to start off by saying jacked Gugu.
I know you did.
Just so we got there.
I'm really sad he didn't change his mask, though.
Yeah.
The opening has like a spiky mask, and it looked really cool. And
maybe he'll get to that. When we leave off last week, obviously there's a knocker attacking. I'm using terminology that we haven't explained yet. They decided to name the weird forest things that try to keep killing Fushi. They decided to name them knockers for some reason.
I feel like it's got something to do with Tommy knockers, but I don't know.
Maybe. Either way, last week obviously we left off with them in a pretty dire situation with Gugu just the last second about to be attacked, and then Fushi stepping in with his cool spear and saving him. We immediately get to the same thing this time. I like when he uses his like spear pentagram thing. Yeah, where he makes like spears on spears on spears to block all the attacks.
Like, yeah, that's like a major improvement in combat ability.
Yeah, it doesn't help him much.
I mean, it's still a cool party trick.
Yeah, I mean, what happens though is Gugu gets absolutely smacked, and then as he lands, he like barfs out all the remaining alcohol in him.
Yep, and then a convenient nearby torch ignites it.
Yeah, he gets thrown right beside the torch that was just there.
Now, I want to ask, like, when he initially landed, was that torch there?
Yeah, there was. You couldn't see the torch in the scene, but you could see the light off the side.
Okay, I was gonna say because it's like I almost felt like the
god-like
guy,
figure.
It's like I'm just gonna put this here.
But he either way he sees the light, it ignites the alcohol, and he gets the idea of like, hey, going in there and igniting it, and then we see the scene from the next time where we thought he was gonna do a cool fire blast, but he's got no alcohol left, so he can't do it. So he's like, yo, Fushi. He's like, where Fushi comes in, he tells him to leave. He's like, fucking go away, Gugu. He's like, run. And he's like, no, I want to help you fight. And he's like, no, fucking go. And then Gugu's like, you know what? I'll be back in like 5 minutes. And then Fushi's like, no, don't come back. He's like, if you do, I'll bite you.
Yep.
And he's like, okay. He's like, I'll take it. So he runs away. And as he runs away, his whole body turns like red. And Gugu kind of falls down. And he basically got drunk.
Yeah, it almost seemed like with the red skin, it made me think of alcohol poisoning.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is, I don't know if it was supposed to be like, when you drink a lot, you like blush, and like his whole body's blushing.
I mean, that is a stereotype, but just the way it turned like red that quickly.
Yeah, when he gets back to the house, eventually Booze Man explains that there was like probably a rupture in there somewhere. I thought this was going to be, and he said that if they don't fix it, he could die. So I thought this was going to be more dire.
Yeah, like he said this like as he was pumping it in, he's like starts coughing. It's like, okay, yeah, there's something wrong.
Yeah, but they walk in, Reen's parents are there, which really didn't have that much outcome in it, other than like the funny situation where then they're like, Gugu's like drunk walking. He's like, give me more booze. So the parents are like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, it was a little, I want to use the word cringy.
Yeah, it was like a weird time for like the comedy. I mean, it was still funny though. He's basically just like, fill me up with more booze, old man. And they're like, oh, this kid, he's just running around.
I want to know what they were thinking when he took a hose and started like pumping it into his face.
Yeah, they didn't show his reaction for that part though.
Like I wonder, did he like show them faces like, hey, this is what I look like, piss off?
But basically, he gets filled up with the booze. He starts like walking out. Before he walks out, he finds out that like, one of the reasons that the parents think Reen left is because she's supposed to be married to someone.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Gugu's like laughing. He's like, but the one who loves Reen the most is me. And then he just walks out, charges out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of an exit.
The thing is, by the time he makes it to Fushi, he's no longer drunk. Like he comes back like completely normal.
I think it's one of those things like it's supposed to be like adrenaline's taking over.
Maybe so he's kicking back into the right frame of mind kind of situation. Yeah. He comes back and he cannot find Fushi anywhere. He just sees a very large bear that he originally mistakes for Fushi before realizing that it's not him.
Yeah.
And then he decides to go for a sick torch attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say that was aggressively effective. Like we knew firework would work well, but that was like a fucking 100-foot flamethrower he used.
Yeah, like how much alcohol did this guy put into him?
Well, he did. Yeah, he did claim it was like the best stuff. It was like distilled multiple times, like insane good quality. But my question is more the force of which Gugu shot it out was like insane. Like he's like, oh, and it's like
maybe like pressure. I guess if it's ruptured, he wouldn't be able to pressurize it.
Yeah, I don't, either way, we're not going to explain the science of how the guy with alcohol in his stomach is able to shoot it out.
Yeah, the guy who had an organ installed that contains alcohol.
Either way, he fire blasts it and he completely wrecks it. Now, there's still no sign of Fushi, but after the creature's dead, white light emerges from the body, and then Gugu sees it and follows it. And he follows it back to a rock.
Yeah, because he saw this come out of Fushi earlier when he got hit. So.
Yeah, so he follows the white light back to a rock. Upon getting the rock, he holds it up. And then we're all like, hey, look, that's Fushi's original form. Maybe the thing did not look for him as the rock form.
I mean,
but
it probably looked at him and was like, yeah, I don't need that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can't even take the original one. I don't know. But either way, it left him alone. But then the deity guy had to specifically come and touch him to make him reactivate kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's as a rock, you don't really have consciousness.
Maybe.
So
either way, he came in. He decided to touch him. He's like, oh, thanks to this kid, Fushi. He just saved your life kind of situation.
Yeah, he specifically is like, you're really lucky for this, and just
he touches him. Fushi comes back. They have a nice little touching reunion again, where they hug it out, and they're pumped. And then of course Fushi has to bite him because he did make that promise, and so he gives him the old bite.
Yeah, I like how you looked at it for moments. Like I could shake his hand, or I could bite him.
Yeah, they return home. It's all kind of good there. Reen decides to go back with her parents. And then, Fushi's out getting the water at some point after he asks Gugu to help him cook. And then the deity guy approaches Fushi. He's like, hey, you got to go. He's like, listen, he's like, these things are trying to destroy the world, and they keep getting stronger and smarter kind of situation. He's like, and you need to travel around the world so you can get stronger and smarter as well.
Yeah.
He's like, staying here won't be good for you. And then Fushi's like, fuck no, get out of here, old man.
Yeah, I do like how you specifically Gugu's strong, he'll help.
Yeah, he's like, nah, Gugu's strong, he'll help me. And then the guy literally is like, hey, it's your choice. You can choose this path to stay here too. And he's like, what does he say? He's like, but then you'll have to witness the end, or you'll have to see the end, or something like that.
If you want to see the end, you can stay here.
Yeah. So Gugu's like, yeah, fuck you, guy. Or no, sorry, not Fushi says that, and then Gugu comes out. He's like, who are you talking to, Fushi? And Fushi's like, oh, you can't see him. And he's like, no. You want to come back inside now, though?
Yeah, everyone's already eating, man. Come on.
So he goes inside, and that's where we get the time skip.
Yeah, I was not expecting a time skip, honestly.
I mentioned this last episode that I thought we'd see a time skip, but I thought I didn't think so fast. I thought maybe Fushi would leave and we'd see Gugu and them a little bit later.
Yeah, we didn't expect them to be living with Fushi for 4 years.
Yeah, it immediately went back into Gugu being jacked. Basically being jacked. We see Reen come in. She's wearing the exact same clothes, has the exact same hair. Yeah,
I mean I think that's because it's the family pattern and
maybe
colors. So.
She looks pretty much the exact same to me. I didn't even really see a difference.
Yeah, part of it's the dress part, but she was literally just scaled up to Gugu's size.
But yeah, she comes in and she's like, "Yo, where's Fushi at?" And he's like, "Oh, Fushi, he's out doing something." He said
he's just washing up.
Okay, so then we go outside and we get to see, or it shows them tasting his food first, doesn't it? Showing that he's growing like that before we actually see Fushi. Yeah, because the old lady starts without them. Yeah. So obviously we see that Fushi has learned how to cook really well in the last couple of years, and even when Reen came, she said that she came to come teach him how to weave.
Yeah, something about he was interested in needlework. So
yeah, so she came for that. But then anyways, we see Gugu go out and we see him, approach Fushi. And he, Fushi's looking in a water barrel, looking at his stubble, and then we see him talk for the first time, and he basically explains that he has the facial hair kind of situation, and then we see that he has his face is actually older, so he is also aged, which we did not guess he was going to be able to do.
Yeah, maybe it's super slowed because he didn't look that much older.
I mean, I still think it's hard to kind of
a little bit of a stronger shape to the face.
I mean, it's hard to show a 4-year difference when you've already grown to your height. Gugu, we can obviously see a bunch because he was just doing pull-ups constantly, and he also hit puberty. But
he got jacked, he got taller. I'm kind of curious about whether he still has the alcohol.
I assume he must. I feel like it's something that maybe it wasn't implied before, but I feel like it could be something that helps him stay alive, or we could just have kept it in case the situation comes up again.
Yeah, because I think the old guy specifically says, I didn't put it in for a reason. I just wanted to see what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a lie, but at the same time, I think Gugu now, the fact that last time it's saved from this creature, and then, Fushi might have said more of these creatures might come eventually, he might have just decided to keep it for a cool fire breath if it comes back. But yes, we see Fushi older a little bit. We see Gugu big and jacked. That's nice. And that's kind of where the episode ends. I'm curious. I don't think that... I don't know how much longer he can stay with them unless Gugu goes out with Fushi on a journey to move around. I still think there's a good possibility that they're all going to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the old guy and the old woman aren't going to last that much longer.
Yeah, we don't care if they die anyways. They're old people, so... Jesus. But like Reen, Gugu, like
I wouldn't be surprised if something happens and they leave, like maybe a knocker attacks.
I'm still upset by the fact that there's been no confirmation from Gugu the fact that he saved Reen's life, and that's why his face is fucked. That's all I want him to say.
I mean, for all we know, it came up in the meantime. Like, they seemed really friendly this episode. He was just like, "Oh, you're running away from home again. What's the excuse this time?" And like,
it still seemed like she was more into Fushi though.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe like the way Fushi is, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost like a brother-sister relationship.
I don't know. She was into him before, and I feel like as soon as she came in, she's like, "Yeah, where's Fushi at?" Like immediately.
I mean, but if you look at Gugu, like, which one would you choose?
Listen, obviously I'd choose Gugu. Okay, boy jacked, but I mean, like, Fushi could have been doing pull-ups too. This stupid idiot.
I mean, I don't know if he would actually gain muscle mass because
listen, if he can age, he can gain muscle mass. In my opinion.
But the thing is, why would you bother working at your human form when you can just turn into a giant fucking bear?
Now has his other forms aged?
Oh God!
Because the thing is, like, that's one of the questions.
Oh my God!
Like, what if March is? You said you saw a grown-up March
in the opening. There's a grown-up March.
Because if he ages, like, is it just because he's actually spent this time? Like, maybe March hasn't aged. Like, maybe it hasn't because he hasn't been as March. He's probably, if there's been no dangers the last 4 years, other than maybe occasionally turning into the wolf for like traveling and stuff like that.
I'm not gonna lie, I would spend most of my time as a wolf.
I would spend like all of my time as a wolf. But the thing is, like, it might just be that he's been in this form the whole time, so it ages. But like when he turns into March, maybe he hasn't been in her, so he hasn't aged. But if all of his forms aged, though,
I'd be really curious because I mean that would put March at like what, 8 years old, 9 years old?
She had to be like at least like 5 or 6 before.
Yeah, so like she'd be 10 at the oldest.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we could get a time skip later in the future too. Like, it depends on if I don't know. We have to see March before we can guess, because part of it could just be that yes, he's actively actually spent 4 years as this one person, so he probably aged.
Yeah, I mean, I was even curious because when we saw him as the wolf after the fight, he almost looked smaller.
I just feel like that's the show's perspective, though. Like, how many times has Oniguma like changed size when we saw it? Like,
probably, but I'm almost curious. Like, did the wolf get younger?
I don't know. Either way, it was just really cool seeing the time skip. I don't necessarily think that life's gonna work out for Gugu and them. Ideally, I'd love Gugu just to be like, "Hey, Fushi, let's go on like a journey. Let's travel. Like, I'm ready to go out." If you watch the next time, it seems like it's again about Gugu and Reen still, so it's not over, and it's his brother. Him coming, like, meeting his brother again.
Oh, is it? I didn't see the postscript or the
yeah. So it's just like it talked about how it's focused on like Reen and like something that, or like Gugu and Reen and something that comes up with like the brother too.
You know what's gonna happen?
Do you think the brother became rich from selling the ring and is now married? Is now supposed to be married to Reen?
I don't know if it'd be that. I almost wonder if the brother shows up with the ring. It's like, "Hey, I saved your daughter. Treat me well."
Yeah, that'd be kind of a dickbag move. I mean, how would he know that like that? You'd have to do a lot of research to find out that exact ring was hers, and that like. I
mean, maybe something comes to life and they find out that. I don't know, because I guess the ring wasn't given to the person who saved her. It was given to she gave it to him because he found the dog.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like it's a possibility that he did become rich in the meantime, or he could just actually not be a bad dude. Like he didn't seem great, obviously.
Yeah, he made a bad decision, you could argue.
Yeah, he probably made a few bad decisions. I feel like a lot of it was probably just like gambling, and like alcohol and stuff like that. But like he could come back now, and maybe he's sorted his life out. Maybe he still has the ring. He's gonna give it back to Gugu, and he's just like he found like his own way, tried to be better for his brother, kind of situation. And it could just be more about like Gugu and Reen's relationship as well. Like, are they actually gonna do anything? Like
maybe Gugu comes out, it's like, "Hey, I'm the one who saved you."
I mean, maybe that's it. I'm just curious. It wasn't tons of information, but I'm at least happy to see that they're not just like they're not done with it. Because I like Gugu. He's a pretty sick character. So
I mean, yeah, it's a really interesting concept if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I did not think we thought originally he was it was going to be about Fushi traveling, meeting some people briefly before they either die or go away, and he continues on his journey. But we spent a lot of time with Gugu now.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna really suck when he dies.
It's gonna really suck when he dies, but especially because he's jacked, right? Like, sure, death of a small child, no one cares about that. But a jacked person, though, oh no. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have to talk about To Your Eternity this week. I think that the ending is obviously going to be a pretty big, heartstring pull when they eventually do get to it.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. This week we had some action, we had some drama, we had some jacked Gugu, we had a little bit of everything.
You really like the Jack Gugu.
I was just so happy they took that route. Every character in every single anime should get jacked in a time skip. If you don't get jacked in a time skip, you've dealt something.
I'm just gonna say this: go watch Black Clover.
Why does one of them get jacked?
The main character is the most jacked you could ever be at the end.
Okay, but he's still small though.
He's almost as wide as he is tall. That's the type of jacked we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. That's like too superhero-y.
Oh
You know,
my God.
Gugu got perfectly jacked. That's the important part. Just from doing pull-ups somehow. They showed no other workout. Probably push-ups too. They showed him doing that earlier
He
on.
obviously did a leg day once or twice.
Once or twice maybe. But yeah, I mean, like it was a good episode. I'm excited for next week. I don't know how many episodes this season's supposed to be, or you know, if it's a multi. I'm sure with the concept of like a world ending, it's probably a multi-season show if they can get away with it.
In theory, I mean, how many times can you bring knockers out though? Like,
It's a weird sentence to say. But
okay, how many times can you bring evil tree monsters that want to end the world out?
I mean, a lot, especially if they keep growing and evolving. I feel like eventually we're gonna get one that is intelligent.
I mean, I think they're all relatively intelligent.
I know, but I mean, like speaking wise, to actually give us like a villain kind of thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Or yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited for the show. It's a great show so far, a great opening, and jacked Gugu. So we will be seeing you guys next week for episode number 12 or 11. I can never remember. Did this one start late?
I think this was a late start. Yeah.
Episode number 11 next week. Yeah, so it's not quite up there. But if you guys enjoyed the episode, leave a comment down below. Same thing as Vivy too. We can't post these in the actual subreddit. So if you're here watching to your eternity, just let us know down below. That way we know everyone here who will be here to celebrate when we do get this season finale. And I think that's everything we have for this week. We've covered it all.
Yeah, that's it.
Any standouts this week? What was your favorite episode of all these episodes?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Nope. What was your favorite episode?
You first. Let me think.
Jacked Gugu, obviously. The thing is,
I don't know how I didn't see that coming.
Vivy, good. No one got jacked. 86, pretty good. No one got jacked.
I mean,
Tokyo Revengers, good. Takemichi didn't get jacked. He's a fucking loser.
He's going to get jacked though. I'd probably go probably Tokyo Revengers.
Mine was either To Your Eternity or Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah, seeing Takemichi have that growth and having him kind of like man up a little bit. I hate to use that term, but
like Vivy was good, but I think that it'll be better next week. Like,
yeah,
I think
my biggest problem with Vivy
prepping.
is anything with time travel. I always feel as a can of worms until you end it.
It gets sloppy, and I just think that Vivy is more of a lead up to next week. Obviously, My Hero's a filler. Kumo Desu was good, but like a lot of weird CGI animation and
yeah, that's my biggest problem with Kumo is just the CGI on people like Ariel.
I hope that like with the success it's had so far that they get a bigger budget for season 2 and then kind of.
The problem is that one of the companies that works on it, I might be wrong on this, but
it's the Berserk ones. Yeah.
Like
Someone commented on that last week too.
Yeah, I think I said that originally and someone corrected me and I hate them.
But like animes change studios in between seasons sometimes, especially if they get a bigger budget. Like we've seen it with like Quintessential Quintuplets.
I mean, that is true.
So I think that if it does well enough, it's a possibility at least, especially if people's like only gripe with the show is that the CG animation looked like shit.
Yeah,
there's a chance they can change it.
Which the biggest problem I have is I think CG animation can work, but only if you're using it for monsters.
I think I didn't like if people complained earlier about like the frog monsters and the dragons and stuff like that. I didn't mind that at all. I just do not like when we're showing like the big armies and they're all CG.
Yeah.
Or like individual characters like Ariel.
Yeah, if it looks like a DS game like cutscene, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, it very much what it reminded me of. It reminded me of playing like a DS Fire Emblem game, and that's like the cutscene. So I hope they can change that, but I'm still liking Kumo Desu. It's not ruining it for me. I'm not that big of a stickler on animation.
I mean, we're there for the story.
Yeah.
Animation's usually just the cherry on top, but it can definitely take away.
That's why it'll just be like a super big bonus if they can somehow pull it out to a different studio, like a different animation studio for season 2, or maybe even later in season 3 or something.
Even if the studio just does a better job.
No, that's not going to happen.
I mean, I think I've seen some of the things you guys have done. They've done a couple things that look good.
I just feel like as the show goes on farther and farther, we've been getting more and more of it. So like early on, people mentioned it being like, "Oh, look how stupid that frog was animated." I'm like, I don't care about the fucking frog. Like, but now that we're getting like main characters, you know, like CG, not a fan. Either way, good story though. And Kumo Desu was entertaining. But yeah, my standout for the week was To Your Eternity, Jack Gugu. Tokyo Revengers, a strong second for me, a first for you. Both of which we'll see in next week's episodes, and hopefully next week's episodes can be just as good, if not better.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. So, thanks for watching, guys. As always, if you made it this far, or if you watched any individual part, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. Leave a comment about any of your theories, thoughts, or even just opinions on whether or not you like the episode, don't like the episode, what you want us to do different in the future. New backdrop, trying to change it up. We've been kind of changing up every other week now.
Yeah, just rearranging, seeing what works.
I know that people liked, like when we changed to the side view, people weren't a fan. People like the front view. I also like it. It's easy to talk to camera, easy to talk to Jimmy. But I just want to change to the background. So this time I tossed in all the anime photos and all the manga and stuff like that. So, leave a comment on if you like the backdrop or not. And I think other than that, guys, we'll be seeing you next week for episode number 41. Yeah. As always, I've been Cam.
I'm Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the anime this week, and peace.
Peace.